All right, good evening, everyone, again. This is a later start than I was expecting, but it looks like some of my technical problems have not left since the last time I streamed. So I've tried a couple of things. I'm not entirely sure that they have. Um, I'm not entirely sure that they have kind of solved everything, or anything for that matter. But I've tried kind of turning off everything extra on the machine right now to see if maybe we can avoid some of the little stutters in between. I suspect not, and I'm just going to have to live with this, but I really don't know what to do because I don't want to delay the stream any longer than I have to. It's really annoying to sort of put out a tweet saying that I've started the stream and then just not actually be streaming. So, as a quick word just in terms of where we're at for the stream, I was given a key for this from Hooded Horse. I'm hoping I didn't misdiagnose the key for being a Kickstarter backer for the broadcaster key, but in any case, I have gotten a key from Hooded Horse for other things, and obviously when you're given a thing of value for in exchange for covering something, you want to disclose that as early as possible, and as conspicuously as possible. I, of course, also really like Terra Invicta, so I'm hoping my enthusiasm will come across and you'll all get to enjoy the game yourselves as much as I like it. But again, it's worth taking the time to acknowledge those interests. I'm just gonna mess around a little bit. Well, it's slightly better than before, but I'm still annoyed by it. I may have to just take a week for myself to do some diagnostics or something like that on the stream, but I really do not want to delay things any further. But in any case, thank you very much to Hooded Horse for the game, and congratulations to Pavonis Interactive for making what I'm hoping is a successful, but also just a really interesting game. And as for us, I want to try and right this ship a little bit because there has been... We're in a weird spot just in terms of the overall sort of state of certain certain locations. So, for instance, the moon is more or less colonized at this point. I've still not succeeded in getting the United States, and I don't know. Just overall, my boost and mission control and all of that's probably not really where I want them to be. The one nice exception is that we're doing quite well for control points. But overall, let's see if we can maybe just try and right the ship a little bit and see if we can maybe accomplish a bit more. So I'm going to clear out all the news, unless it's related to the arrival of some kind of alien. And I've been playing this a little bit on my own time, and there's a couple things that I think I had overlooked in my earlier play sessions of this game, and there are things that I may want to focus on moving forward. So one of them concerns research. So right now we're generating 17.7 research daily from the following sources: 1 from faction headquarters, 2.8 from counselors, 11.4 from nations, 0.9 from unused mission control. I knew about this. And then 1.6 from the research distribution bonus. Now I'm interested in this research distribution bonus. I'm reluctant to open up a browser on the computer just because I'm trying to sort of minimize the number of things that might be interfering with OBS. But let me just take a quick second here and see if I can bring up the wiki on a tablet. Okay. That's the actual Wikipedia article. Okay, so I suppose technology is my best bet here. Nope. Perhaps resources then? Research represents the efforts of our scientists and engineers. Unlike other resources, it's not accumulated but immediately distributed according to our research priorities, which are divided between global investigations into new principles and technologies and private engineering projects that only benefit our faction. Hmm. So the hunch here is that with this idea of distribution, if we were to add more, well, maybe we can just test this here right now. So right now we're getting 1.6 from research distribution. So we give up a little bit everywhere here, right? So if we take a look at the priorities we're trying to go for right now, alien movements gives 17.183 and then 4639. That goes down to 9, so we almost cut that in half. In fact, for all of them, we pretty much cut them in half. I probably could have gone by the percentages as well. But in theory, yep, so 4 research from distribution points. So, and in fact, I think it's because I'm splitting it across Energy Lab to alien movements. So in this case here, one thing we can consider is that we've got 1.6 research distribution bonus purely because we have... this can go up to 4. So in essence, by focusing on these 2 categories, I'm leaving 2.4 research on the table. Now, the tricky part here is, in order to get this, I need to give up about 4 research for alien movements. So that's not quite where I'm ready to go yet. But it's something that I want to consider. In future, I may want to distribute my research a little bit more broadly, even if I know I'm going to wind up losing a particular race. It may still be prudent for me to allocate, resources towards research, simply to make sure that I don't have to, to make sure that I'm getting the most out of my research. There's a couple of other things that I wanted to take a look at, and this was, I guess we've got mission to space. I'm also trying to think about the fact that there's a lot of stuff that I can try and do, right? One of the things about this game is that the tech tree is massive, and it's got all of these different interesting relationships between everything, but it can sometimes be quite difficult to figure out what I need to be focusing on. So for instance, right now we've got solid fuel space rockets. I think you just start with this by default. Reduces boost use for sending material from Earth beyond low Earth orbit. Allows the construction of the following ship components, Apex solid rocket 1 through 6, and unlocks liquid fuel space rockets. So we have this as well. And also, so yeah, this is the thing that I want to note here, is that it says all of these projects reduce the boost use for sending material from Earth to beyond low Earth orbit. So the thing that I want to be focusing on right now is, if I have the ability to reduce the boost that's required to get resources up into space, this is going to help me quite a bit in terms of establishing the off-world mining operations. And so one of the things that I'd like to do, if I can, is think about other technologies that might be enabling that for me. So I notice here that it's got the energy symbol on it. I may want to be taking a quick look at some of these alternatives. And mostly I'm just going to look for anything that mentions rockets. So, okay, so for instance, we've got advanced chemical rocketry. So completing this may unlock the following technologies: reusable rockets, interplanetary chemical rockets, advanced carbon manipulation. So on their own, they don't necessarily accomplish much. So interplanetary chemical rockets. National investment points directed to boost are increased by 10. Reduces the boost for sending material from Earth to beyond low Earth orbit. Okay, so interplanetary chemical rockets is actually a really good idea. Olaf, my god, man! How are you doing, my friend? Thank you very much for resubscribing. 30 months with the channel, and very Merry Christmas to you. I'm glad that you made some time to sort of respond to my my worried messages. But I'm delighted to see you individually, especially because I've had some frustration stream-wise. I was talking about this before. Yeah, I should maybe mention that I may do Cyberpunk in future, but I'm probably not going to do it on Friday, and I'll just go back to Against the Storm, because originally I was going to switch between Terra Invicta and Against the Storm on Mondays. It was very clear that people wanted to continue seeing Terra Invicta on Mondays, and so I would like to make sure that I make time for the other things that I've been given a key for, and I really would like to continue doing Against the Storm, so that'll probably be back on Fridays. But in any case, yeah, I've had a bit of a rough time of it, Olaf, so your presence always makes me happy, and I hope you're doing well yourself. Finally home after 2+ months in the hospital, so all is good. I am so glad to hear that you are back, particularly for the holidays. I hope that means things are improving for you. But more importantly, I'm just happy. Well, I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't say more importantly, because that's the wrong set of priorities. I'm just happy to see you. Seeing you in my channel is nice, but it occurred to me that might come off as like, I hope you're doing well, but what really matters is that you're here and resubbing, which is not what I meant to say. But no, like I'm hoping that you're on the mend, or in fact just fully better. And more importantly, I'm really happy that you've taken that precious time to stop by the channel, because I'm gonna guess after 2 months in the hospital, you have a lot of things that you want to do. I was actually playing Borderlands yesterday, and it made me think of you, partly because I saw your achievements in my list. But again, I'm really, really happy to see you here, and I'm hoping I can do something of a reasonable job to to make your time here worth it. Okay, so one of the things that I have attempted in the past has been to try and build sort of Greater North America. Actually, that may even be what they call it. United North America. Usually if you refer to something as greater country, that means an invasion is about to happen. So yeah, no worries. It's a tricky one, right? Because I know you mostly through my channel now. And so, not to highlight an individual or something like that, but obviously there is a type of Twitch broadcast, the type of person who wants to make it, which can lead to sort of this nagging sense of, oh, why aren't you in my channel? Why aren't you in my channel? And I really, really don't ever want people to feel that way. But I also, I don't get to see you as much through any other means. And so if there's been a little while, I always like to just sort of check in and see. Looking forward to some MLG streaming. Well, this one we probably need to repair some bad decisions made before, but we're kind of working on that right now. So what I'm kind of looking at right now is anything that's talking about reducing the boost required. So for instance, if we have advanced chemical rocketry, you'll notice that it doesn't actually say it reduces the boost of anything, but it is unlocking a number of projects which will. So super heavy chemical rockets. Actually, in this case, it talks about improving the allocation of boost, but does not say that. Yeah, so in this case, super heavy chemical rockets will not be reducing the boost required to put things in space. Rocket-powered tugs, speed delivery up to HAB modules by 11, high-thrust probes. Probes arrive at their destination faster. Okay, so advanced chemical rocketry at this moment doesn't seem to be... It'll be improving our investment that we make into boost, and so that may be worth it, in its own way. But at least as far as improving the... So right now I basically want to get things into space as efficiently as possible. So interplanetary chemical rockets, definitely something that I want to focus on because it talks about reducing the boost. Advanced chemical rockets, similar argument. Does it say what the prerequisites are? Super heavy chemical rockets, space tugs, all of these things, a little bit lower of a priority. So interplanetary chemical rockets, definitely will want advanced chemical rocketry, advanced chemical rockets. We want advanced hydrogen containment, superconductor. Okay, so we're going to be investing quite a bit to do that. But I can definitely see advanced chemical rocketry to being a bit of a priority for us here. No bad decisions, just happy little accidents and a chance to learn. Good way of thinking of it. Now, of course, the next question is, at what point do I want to try and push my agenda? I will note, for instance, so we got 289. The servants have got 289. If we take a look at our intelligence, we can get an idea of what the servants have, and that's 16 in terms of research. So there's a reasonable argument to be made that we can potentially outdo them research-wise. I wish I knew when this would be applied. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to roll it back a little bit on... Okay, I'm actually going to try spreading out the research right now. And what I'm going to be trying here... So I'm at 821 a day. And I'm going to start keeping track of whether or not we can keep pace with the servants. If we can't, then the answer is obvious. We give up on the pursuit and we go back to focusing on alien movements and energy lab. If, on the other hand, we do seem to be able to keep pace with the servants, maybe what I might want to do then is roll back a little bit on how much effort I'm sort of putting into this stuff. Okay, so got 289. So then, I can start reallocating research back to things like alien movements and energy lab and so on. So this is going to be a little bit strange, but I'm willing to kind of give up a couple of weeks to see whether or not we can achieve this. I think traditionally we've gone for 4. But yeah, so this is getting things into space is one of these examples in terms of how I want to be changing my priorities and sort of correcting some of the errors. The other one is to invest in the United States. That one's kind of a no-brainer, but it is going to require some effort on my part in terms of just getting the...
Order is returning.
Okay. Mexico's doing quite well with its unrest, actually. Oh yes, there's another thing that I want to look at, which is how I'm allocating my resources to the other... Curses. I'm so bad at canceling stuff that... So something happened in Mars. Clearly not my probe.
By the numbers.
Nice. Our assault on alien life forms in the Keta region was successful. We estimate we reduced alien flora and fauna in the region by about 35%, but it's likely that some remains.
We're in control here.
We've gained Bulgaria.
We got our people in place.
All right, and we finally broke through on the United States. So the 1st Infantry Division, the United States of America, is now under control of the Resistance. Let's just take a second here and clear out some of these details. So we're going to have to start minding our control points for the next little bit, but this is a big moment for us in terms of getting...
Ready for my mission.
So apparently that was a 13% chance. Okay, so we're at the end of the assignment. So that we may have actually, I can't recall if we had invested influence for this decision. Sorry, there is one other thing that I forgot. I may have forgotten to change how my stream was tagged, so just bear with me one more second here. I apologize. if I'm not doing Cyberpunk as often, then I don't need to worry about the mature setting. Yep, there we go. Okay, for real this time. Totally focused on the game. I regret to inform you...
Where do you need me?
Olaf, I'm actually drinking tea. I wanted coffee, but I do know that I have to go to the office tomorrow. So now Toby is terrifying now because of all of their like administration and science and so on and so forth. Oh, actually, this is going to give us some useful information as well. So what have we contributed so far? So we closed the gap by 151 over the period. Okay, so that 589 translates to 157. So they're actually still outpacing us, which is a shame. We'll see whether or not that changes now that we have... Because the thing to remember, right, is that we've got some ground to catch up on. In fact, both the Protectorate and the Servants are outpacing me on that tech. So we might be on a fool's errand here, but I have some options in terms of killing the 2 bits of research we're doing in these other regions. So let's go back to our tasks.
Ready for orders.
So yeah, we're gonna still focus on the states.
Ready for orders.
Gunarti will... I think we're still going to try and purge.
Removing our enemies.
Ready for my mission.
I think we're actually at a point now where it makes sense for me to... Oh, wow. It's tough to stabilize the states. Okay, well... I think this is still worth trying.
We'll make things safe.
What's the op?
Now again, Tony's kind of good at everything now. Oh wow, they're gonna be so much better at stabilizing the states.
At your service.
Okay, so that means
I'm
Amvi
here.
can focus on stabilizing in other regions. I'm going to start
We'll
with Belize,
restore
but
peace
we'll
to this
take a look
nation.
at what some of the others might be. Yeah, guerrilla war, we definitely... Oh my god, insurrection. There's so much chaos going on in Central America. Yeah, that's not happening.
Restoring order.
So again, I still want to be focusing on the states here. We've gotten our toehold, but there's a lot that we want to be working on. Now, there is actually one other thing that I want to consider, and that's how I've been assigning my different points. So right now, we've got monthly investment points. It's worth noting, though, that the investment points have been going down over time. So we want to take a quick look at that. So these represent the nation's economic surplus that can be distributed by factions with control points in the priorities tab. The value is set by the nation's GDP and reduced by the number of armies it fields and by high levels of unrest. The nation's GDP provides a base of 5.02 investment points per month. It currently has 4.70 available for distribution to various priorities. These priorities are outlined here. high inequality, but it's falling. We may want to boost welfare now that I think of it. So one of the things that I kind of want to think about, right, is... So actually, one thing I'm not 100% clear on are... I wonder if it can say threat. Estimated threat level. This panel represents our intelligence section's best estimate about the degree to which the aliens regard our faction as a threat. It is based on our monitoring of pro-alien groups and visible alien activity in the solar system. We believe hostile actions against the aliens or their proxies on Earth and or large visible space presence increases their concern about us, and we may expect the aliens to retaliate against our interests on Earth and in space should the alert monitor reach the maximum level. They may also lose interest if we avoid opposing them or their proxies on Earth directly for a time. Our analysts emphasize this is an imperfect estimate. We will correct our estimates when the aliens take direct action against us or by speaking with one of them directly. Okay, so not quite what I was looking for. I guess you have to say don't show
On the
this
left-hand
again.
side of your information about...
So, like, basically I'm kind of taking a look here at establishing the spaceflight program, right? Maybe interesting to see, does the States have it? No. So we're currently investing quite a bit to establishing a spaceflight program in Panama. And so one of the things that I may want to think about is, okay, is this really like putting 20% of the investment points, 4.7 of them, into a spaceflight program? Does that make a whole lot of sense right now? Or are there other ways that I can focus on this? Another example I would give you would be right now we have a lot of cash reserves, and so we can actually afford to roll back a little bit in terms of what we're getting in terms of funding. And it may be better for us to allocate these things towards improving the economy of these different countries. So one argument you might make, let's take a look at some nice large... Well, okay, actually here's an example, right? So United States of America, massively productive country, high-tech, good military, and 339 million people. So contrast that to, sorry, I think it was Mexico. Well, yeah, actually Mexico is not a bad example. So like 335 million. That's still a lot, like it's a lot. Like the United States is considerably bigger, but like in terms of the amount of points that it'll take to keep cap. So for instance, here we've got the Mexican control point of 13.18 versus the US of 2709. Sort of per point that I'm getting, is this, am I getting a good deal basically? Are there ways that I can sort of be improving where I'm allocating different resources? And again, this sort of stuff is kind of hard to figure out. This is where all the interesting sort of simulation stuff comes into this game. So one thing I've been thinking about for some of the poorer nations that I have, so like again, Panama, maybe I don't want to invest a whole lot because there's only so many people in the country, and so maybe here's the example that I want to talk about. Think of a productivity improvement. So you have an economy, you've got, 1 million cavemen, and, they'll do whatever they want, you to do. But they are still 1,000 cavemen, and you're responsible for sort of organizing them into a particular, to organize them into some sort of a way. And I mean, again, you can make this like a survival sim and say, okay, we need to make sure that these 1 million people don't starve, and we also need to allocate a certain amount towards defense, let's say, just imagine, this is actually civilization I'm describing, I guess. But in the end, right, there's a certain expectation that you have as far as what they're going to be able to do, how much effort they're going to be able to put towards all of this stuff. Now, let's then say that we've got these 1 million cavemen, and we drop the monolith down, and they now have, let's say, an understanding of the world equal to, say, around the Reformation, let's say. that's already quite a bit of information. They're going to be able to produce tools. They're going to be able to engage in commerce in a way that probably would not necessarily be as true from history. And so people's ability to do things has improved tremendously. Now, if you can take that so basically what you would do then is you'd sort of think, okay, so, here's the set of things that we could produce in one stage. We drop the monolith, there's the technological improvement, and now we have a big boost in terms of overall output. Now, we can do the same experiment and we can say, okay, we're playing a game and you can start with, the million cavemen, or you can start with 100,000 Romans. Clearly, you pick one to drop the monolith on, and you get to play as that for the rest of the game. Well, the caveman is a pretty obvious choice. Number one, there's the larger improvement in terms of understanding, but number two, that's spread over 10 times as many people. And so I mean, again, maybe you'd say it's like, okay, well, you can have 1 million Romans, or you can have 100,000 cavemen, and then again drop the monolith. Which one do you want? And then again you sort of think. But I would argue here that basically if you can spread that improvement over more people, you get more bang for your buck. And so that's kind of why I want to start thinking a little bit more about how this game handles these things, because obviously it measures population, and ultimately what I'm looking at would be the number of investment points that can be allocated towards certain activities. And what I want to be thinking about right now is, am I getting my money's worth with this sort of one-size-fits-all approach, or should I abandon spaceflight programs for certain nations and focus more on their economy so that I can go back and reinvest that money when there's more to put in? So we're going to spend a little bit of time thinking about that. So again, monthly investment point, these represent the nation's economic surplus that can be distributed by factions with control points in the priorities tab. The value is set by the nation's GDP and reduced by the number of armies that it fields. So we would want to be thinking about nations with GDP. So this is actually another important thing. There's some nations, I think I should basically be looking at anything with for Libya, GDP of 109 billion. That's not the one I wanted. Maybe it was. Oh, here we go. Nigeria, right? $1 trillion. Now that's quite a bit. Although if you take a look at the investment points, it's really not that much higher than Panama. Although maybe I should be slowing it down by considering the scale. So 10 times as much for a little over twice as much in terms of investment. I should probably see what the formula is for... Oh, interesting. Hang on. Nation's GDP provides a base of 10.16. This must be because the servants have a controlling point. Okay. In any case, where I'm trying to go with some of this is to say, I want to understand what goes into calculating the investment points, because that's ultimately going to translate into things like how much more research I get. So let's take a look at a country that I can control. So we'll take Panama as an example. So Panama, nation's research produces a product of its education level, economy, cohesion, democracy, and unrest. Okay. So knowledge priority covers investments in education, free flow of information. Completing the knowledge priority increases education point by 0.005, government by 0.005, and pulls cohesion towards the middle value by 5 by 0.01. So the problem here is I'm trying to figure out whether or not I should care about populations. Okay, nation's GDP. A nation's GDP, or gross domestic product, is a measure of its annual economic output in US dollars adjusted by purchasing power parity. The nation's GDP determines how many control points the nation has, how many investment points it produces, and how difficult certain missions are. So again, the case that I would make is that you can have Nigeria with 227.2 million and a GDP of $1 trillion. Actually, this would not be a bad example as well. So you've got 28.1 million people, 22.9 million people. Obviously, one country is creating more wealth than the other. Let's see if the game's codex has anything to say about this. Nations on Earth serve as battlegrounds for the aliens' designs on Earth and are sites of both political and military conflict. Human factions, using counselors and armies, will compete to control nations in order to make use of their resources to fulfill their objectives. Most nations in Terra Invicta correspond to a single real-world Earth country, though in several cases adjacent groups of small nations are aggregated into a single nation so that they may have more relevance to the scale of the game, and any internation issues between these generally take place below the scale of simulation. Factions function as something like covert investors in nations. With enough focus, they can take control over the nation's economy and foreign policy. Okay. I'm going to go back to the wiki then. Okay, GDP. A nation's GDP, or gross domestic product, is a measure of its annual... Okay, this is the tooltip. The nation's GDP determines how many control points a nation has, how many investment points it produces, and how much difficult certain missions are. 0 to 81 is 1 control point, 81 to 625 is 2. It goes up to 14,641 for 6. GDP is not directly influenced by economy priority, which affects PPP instead, purchasing power parity. It must be noted that a significant economic growth in a nation may carry negative consequences to the planet's climate stability. Unification combines both nations' GDPs. Climate change has a negative effect on GDP based on the following states. Negative 4.032 for every degree Celsius below pre-industrial levels, negative 1.344 for every degree Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Every combined iteration of economy investment priority will raise GDP by 2.5 base, plus 1 per resource region, plus 1 per economic core region, plus 0.2 per democracy, plus 0.2 per education, plus 2.5 for cohesion equals 5, tapering off to 0 for cohesion, 0 to 10. This means that for maximum GDP growth, you will want more resource regions, more democracy, more education, and middling cohesion, as well as many economic regions as possible. Per capita GDP, a per capita nation's GDP is its gross domestic product divided by its population. It represents the economic conditions for the average citizen of the nation. Nations with a low per capita GDP will face higher unrest while people's needs are not met. Putting investment points into the economy priority can increase GDP. Conflict, population loss, and climate change are among the things that cause it to decrease. Okay. Let's see if there's an entry on population then, because maybe I just don't need to care about populations, and instead I just try and bring the economy numbers up. Population. Nations have population. Well, actually, no, hang on, because I would want large populations in nations that like me. So that's another factor to keep in mind. Nations have populations measured in millions. Throughout the course of the game, these populations will grow or shrink based on various factors. The following section discusses population growth. Developed countries have at least 2 regions or a fake union in the game, Benelux, Alpine states, etc., and have the following be true. Education plus democracy plus GDP per capita less than 4,000 is greater than or equal to 25. Therefore, Norway is not a developed nation, but France is. The Baltics can be developed if a country improves without expanding because it's a faked union. Regional per capita GDP divided by 30,000 plus minimum of 10 minus education to the power of 2 divided by 10. 10 minus democracy squared divided by 10. 3.5 if developed. Wow, this is... I get part of this formula that they're giving here, but there are actually a few ambiguities. Also, it doesn't actually say what this formula is for. Okay, what this means: more GDP per capita, faster population growth. If education or democracy is above 4.08, growth is reduced. If a country is developed, per the conditions outlined earlier, it will grow faster at 5 cohesion. Every nation has a population growth modifier, which is defined in plain text in the TI nation template .json and game files. Xenoforming reduces pop growth. Nukes reduce pop growth. Okay. So maybe the goal here is, if I don't have a developed country, let's try and get it to develop before we give them a space program. I occasionally think about how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from the outside world. So, is there an easy way for me to see whether or not a country counts as developed or not? I do like reading this wiki, but I realize it creates a lot of silence for the broadcast. Okay, I'm going to take a second here and just review the... We'll start with the United States. So we've got overview, flawed democracy, insurgency, 21 trillion GDP. There's a list for development, but it doesn't have a, like, an actual description as developed. Actually, they said Norway wasn't, didn't count as a developed country. But if that's true, then that would mean there was something that developed countries have at least 2 regions or are a fake union. Well, okay, so there's 2... Okay, so now I'm starting to doubt the wiki. So I suppose... there are going to be climate implications for this, but maybe what I try and do for some of the countries with only one control point... well, no, these are all, well, more or less developed countries. So maybe, okay, here's, in the interest of trying to push things forward, let's say if you are a country with only one control point, we are going to axe the spaceflight program. We're also going to roll back on funding. I am okay with building the army. How much do I want to put in welfare? Is that any better than what I had before? Well, 13 and 19 for knowledge, so yes. Okay, so that's going to be how I adjust the priorities for single point. Actually, I'm slightly curious. So if it says developing here, wow, that all goes to spoils, huh? Industrialization, modernization, so much in terms of spoils though, digitalization. Anyway, the idea here is we don't need the funding from... what did we do in... Nope, that's Costa Rica. 32323. Take a quick second here just to review the nations that I control. Okay, so similar story for Botswana. Obviously, I'm cutting funding for myself, but in the end, I don't think this is going to be that big of an impact in terms of the budget. So this is something I kind of want to get out of. Basically, I want to try and rip the Band-Aid off now and invest in the future of these countries, so that when the time comes, we are actually going to be able to do awesome things with them, assuming that we keep them, of course. Okay. Iceland is not a developed nation. I don't know if I'm allowed to mess around with nations. Yep. there may be a bit of sense in just putting a trickling amount into a spaceflight program, but I figure a clear decision's slightly better for me, just because it tells me, like, if it blows up in my face, I'm like, okay, well, let's not do that again. Okay. I think I can live with this. And we will confirm the assignments. Economy contracts in Uruguay. The economy of Uruguay has shrunk to the point that the nation has lost a control point controlled by the resistance. Well, just in time for us to implement our new policy. Revolution in Honduras. A violent revolution has overthrown the government in Honduras. We will work on that. Didn't replace anybody, just...
Violence is abating.
Okay, we'll make that a permanent assignment for now.
Things are cooling off.
Okay, I think we're also going to continue to stabilize the states.
Public opinion is moving in our direction.
And at this point, I'm going to start canceling the news list when we're in the confirm stage. So something's happening here. I don't notice any. Oh, here we go.
The opposition remains in power.
Let's repeat that.
Our supporters are in place.
Excellent. Another... All right, Army under Resistance control. The 1st Armored Division, United States of America, is now under the control of the Resistance. The aliens have rapidly become more popular in Guatemala. Perhaps we should investigate for activity there. France, under control of Humanity First, and Canada have ended their alliance. Turkey, under the Servants, and Bulgaria have ended their alliance. Italy, under control of the Servants, and Bulgaria have ended their alliance. North Korea, under control of the Academy, and Romania have formed an alliance. They will defend each other if attacked and have the option to join each other's wars of aggression. Germany, under the control of Project Exodus, and Bulgaria have ended their alliance. Okay. Lots of activity, and clearly there are some things that I need to take care of. So, probe controlled by Humanity First is launched towards Mars. Okay, so clearly we want to deal with the abductions immediately. So here we're going to send Amvi out.
We'll recon the site.
On that one. Now,
I'm here.
Perhaps it's better for Ganarti to try a coup in Honduras.
Subverting the government.
Because we want Chaoshu to continue to work on the United States, and I believe Andre is still trying to get us past 50% in terms of the resistance. Now, the last thing we need to think about are 16 control points worth of... where was the... They said there was a sudden influx of alien support, but I... Was it Guatemala? Because I should investigate that, but I actually don't know how to get that news back. Wow. That's probably it. Okay, so...
On Overwatch.
Okay, with that in mind, again, we still need to... Oh, sorry, there's also the tech question. So, now that we've got an idea in terms of what our research agenda looks like, can we actually overtake the servants? We are now up to 334. So not that different from what we already did. So we're basically looking at 183. So to a certain extent, yes, we can outpace our rivals. The question is, can we do so? Like, are we going to be able to do this at a rate where, well, it's a huge project, so probably yes. So it looks like they had 160. Wait, is that right? No, 150. 155. And the Protectorate went up to 428, which means that they increased by 292. What? Wow. Okay. So yeah, clearly the servants are the one to keep an eye on for this. So, we have... So, we have 16 months of this. I think we get 2 per month. That's 32 periods. So I have 32 periods, and the difference between us is... call that 28 points. I can overcome the gap, but just barely. So there is a slight argument for me to abandon solid core fission systems and mission to the asteroids to try and lock in that advantage. At least for a start. Okay, our crackdown is also over, so let's sort this by... So I think the best would be if I can just find a control point that's worth 16 and get rid of that. Looks like that's going to be painful, actually. Yeah, so I could completely abandon Bulgaria. Okay, I don't really have a good way of doing this, so let's go... Oh, sorry, not please. So I'm just gonna have to nibble at some of the nice to haves. Is already abandoned. So I think we just need 2 more of those. Oh, nope, that was enough. Okay, cool. What else do I want? We're making even more money than last... Oh yeah, that's because we got the states, of course. Okay. How you doing, Vanguard Master?
Surveilling target
Although,
area.
why are you calling me a star? Okay, so that didn't really show us anything, but that's fine. That at least gave us some peace of mind. It was okay. I could have done some more, I feel, but I'm not going to beat myself up over the things that I might have done.
Things are stabilizing.
We're winning their hearts and minds.
God, I need to stop doing that. Strange behavior. We have new reports of returned abductees in Guatemala, the Guatemala City region of Guatemala. The relatives say they are behaving strangely and saying the aliens are peaceful and here to help humanity. Our analysts believe this is a sign that the aliens are attempting to gain influence by shifting public opinion in favor of the servants. That kind of already told us something we already knew, but we will assign someone to it nonetheless.
Recon complete.
I've learned some useful information from my investigation of alien activity in the United States of America. We will receive a small bonus for our xenology research going forward. We're also going to have to investigate when this ship crashes down.
We still lack support.
How you doing, Irrepressible? Okay, so we can require the Los Alamos National Laboratory. So did anybody see the
On the way to the target site.
did anybody
At your
see
service.
the trailer for Oppenheimer?
Setting a watch.
I feel like I should surveil in the States as well, but this is clearly the priority right now. Okay, so we're still below 50% for the States. Nothing's really changed as far as the overall situation is concerned, but we do want to see if we can upgrade people or if we can bring in new orgs. So, Irrepressible, that is a very cool bit of detail that you just shared. My uncle works for the Sandia National Labs, which is more or less the successor to Los Alamos. I recently read The Man from the Future, which is a biography of John von Neumann, which I liked. I very much enjoyed reading that text. But yeah, it's a good time to be smart. Good time to be interested in smart people, because there's a lot of good stuff coming out about it. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is augment some of my people. We're still going to go with the administration strategy just because it seems really, really strong. Now, of course, this is split over a number of different counselors, so I'm not going to be able to do quite as much as I would want. But let's. So anything that gives me administration gets immediate priority. Second, okay, let me just double check how this works. Hang on a minute. So it shows an icon for investment. Or is this what it's supposed to be, +5 for military? Let's see if that... Yep, no, that makes sense. Okay, so Crater Systems improves our science income and improves the science for the character, which of course would mean that Toby is a high priority for that organization. But it does invite the question, what... Okay, well, clearly Crater Systems... Well, then again, well, no, hang on. Okay, so Los Alamos gives us 2 science, which is nice, but it's not the most... Like, it's not the highest that this character will get. It's also worth remembering... So one thing that's worth remembering for me is that I can potentially get things like the Templin Institute on different characters. This is a... Yeah, so definitely putting this one into the unassigned orgs makes sense. Now, if I can somehow free up 3, I can get another 2 science on this character. Removing Free Federation of Industrial Workers removes the... Okay, no, I'm seeing the logic here. So we move the Templin Institute to someone else. We give Los Alamos to Toby Brainerd. So that's the maximum. Essentially, I've maximized the science that Toby can get, and so eventually I'm going to assign them to the US government. So what I need to do now is redistribute all of the orgs to people who can make the most of them. So one of the first things I want to do is make sure that Sirkinis and the Templin Institute are assigned to people. So one thing I may want to do is just take a look at somebody like, okay, you know, the Australian Signals Directorate, nice to have. Andre certainly has a very high investigation for it right now, but I'm actually using him for persuasion. So perhaps we want to reconsider the assignment. Gamma intelligence, solutions. Similarly, this is not something we really need right now on this individual. So let's clear out a couple of the things that aren't quite pulling their weight for this character right now. So if I want, I can assign the Templin Institute, and as it is, I actually get a net improvement in terms of investigation. Sounds like a good deal to me. Okay. Who's got my best persuasion of people who have free points? Yeah, all of these I can't afford to lose. So, well, actually, she's already got public campaign. Okay, so I first want the research for sure. So the best would be if I can somehow get the Jade Fund involved again. So the last thing I want to do here is see... Okay, so bonus towards welfare. Maybe I want to put the Jade Fund in instead. Alternatively, well, we're already down to 6.1, so maybe I don't want to be cutting my income down by a third. Well, I'd actually already be doing that by equipping the Jade Fund. So as much as I would like to have the extra points go into knowledge, I think I have to leave that here. But we do have a very, very strong sort of science team and a couple of agents who can really, really make things happen for us now. Olaf, sadly, it's about time for you today. Have an awesome rest of your stream, dude, and catch you next time. Thank you so much, Olaf. It's, as always, an absolute delight to have you in the chat. So thank you very much for hanging out. And as always, if you ever want to chat offline, I'm happy to do so. Can't tell us the details of everything he works on, but once he was in the New York Times? That can't be right, for working on radiation-resistant robot for some dirty bomb scenario. Oh, or like he was interviewed for a piece that was on the radiation-resistant robot. Either way, it's very cool.
Initiating recon.
I did a thing on, I'm pretty sure it was Terra Invicta last week, where we showed one of Tom Lair's songs about Werner von Braun, which, for those of you who weren't there, Tom Lair, in addition to being a very gifted musician and comedian, I believe he worked at Los Alamos, but
The people will come to our side.
actually turned out to be cover for the much more secret project he was working on, which was the NSA, which at the time was not acknowledged. So he was in the rare position of essentially using nuclear weapons as cover for the more secret task that he was working on. We have completed the Energy Lab project. Allows the construction of the following HAB modules. Energy Lab. I particularly like this one because of the science that it gave me. A small laboratory for conducting high-energy physics experiments, grants plus 3% bonus to our... Oh, sorry, it was the bonus... we already get the science from it. But a 3% bonus to our investments in boost priority is I think is a good one for us to consider. But we do need to pick a new engineering project. So let's go for... What does this accomplish for me? A fission pile gives me better power. At some point, I do need to start thinking about how I'm going to get I need to start thinking about how I'm going to get some ships in the sky. I think I said I was going to hold off on these more expensive ones and start doing some more modules. So let's start with liquid hydrogen containment. I don't really have a clear idea in terms of where I want to go with all of this, but it's the best I can do under the circumstances. And this gives me a chance to clear out some of the other messages. So unfortunately, another waste in terms of... Oh, maybe not. No, yeah, I think that was another wasted surveillance. So, number one, I want to be researching more techs that will get me reductions in terms of the boost cost to send things into space, and that's going to help me build facilities
Here's what
on
we
the
found.
moon. I've learned some useful information in my investigation of the alien activity in Guatemala. We will receive a small bonus for our xenology research going forward. Control point lost in Kyrgyzstan. Okay, that was going to happen, so... Nope, the initiative managed to sneak in the
We've gained
Honduras.
significant support.
Excuse me. So we have to wind up giving up a few more regions because we have more of the states. But this is going to translate into more power for us. Well, we've done a good job of reducing the unrest. Well, kind of, like, it's still ticking up, but yeah, I'm gonna have to come up with some more things for people to do. So, Amvi, we want you to investigate
Headed there now.
the alien activity. Canarty is going to investigate the states. Oh.
Eyes up.
I think we're gonna keep everybody else on track. I don't think there's any new... Oh, nope, there's definitely new orcs, but I don't think we have any space for them. So, if any of them give administration, it's something we would immediately pick up. Cygnus Engineering Group is tempting. The question is, what would I give up for it? Interesting. I'm really not sure what to make of whether I would want Rhinoceros to stay or not. I think I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna leave this be for now. But we do need to start kicking out some countries. Did we already abandon the Pacific states? Yes, we did. Now I have to start giving up places like Romania and Australia. I want to take a quick look at Romania because I want to know how much research they're giving me. Okay, so Romania is currently providing 7.8. I think it was Bulgaria was the other one that I was looking for. Okay, so on the margin they're pretty close. Although I suppose it implies here that Romania is probably producing more research overall. Oh, this is a tough call. Okay, so Romania gives me 841. If I abandon Bulgaria, I'm going to get about 10 out of that. Well, I mean, the choice is obvious then. That brings me in compliance. Okay. I also want to get an idea in terms of how Toby's doing on the insurgency. So we're at 5-3. Cohesion's improving, but we might want to try and push. We're not doing anything to improve unity, which is probably a mistake. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna knock back a bit of funding to see if we can
Initiating surveillance.
get the Unity where it needs to be in the States. Obviously, the United States is a huge source of cash for us, so I got to be careful that I don't bankrupt my organization. But it's the one lever I can sort of push without giving up on the other priorities.
Violence is abating.
We've moved the needle.
Sorry, when you say a lot of firsts on your board, what was the... what did you mean by that?
We found something.
Okay, we've learned some useful information from my investigation of the alien activity in the United States of America. We will receive a small bonus to xenology research going forward. And we lost a control point in Tajikistan. Again, we had abandoned that, so that's not a big... Oh, first Marine, first Armor. Gotcha.
Our presence is growing.
Okay, so we get to do this one again. Again, I'm not going to complain about the... So actually, I'm going to knock back to... This is a pretty aggressive choice here, but I want to see whether or not we can get away with it. So lots of people are launching probes, but I don't really see any news about our probe doing anything. So let's take a minute and see what's happening on Mars. Okay. Finally, we find out which of my kids I don't like the most. So we will... need 20 points. I think we just ditch, for a start, we ditch Romania and Australia, and that's probably not going to be enough. Oop. So I think this was giving me some kind of boost income. Yeah, it's a shame, but like, obviously we're giving it up so that we can get stuff in the States. NPC 421 asking, any games you're going to try and snag on some Steam sales this holiday? Good question. If I take a look at my wish list, sorry to move outside of the game, but I'm actually kind of curious about this because I was thinking about this the other day. Probably I'm more inclined towards trying for some DLC in some games that I have already been enjoying. So for instance, I was trying Warhammer 40k Gladius Relics of War, and kind of I've noticed that that's doing quite a good job of sort of getting me back into that game, and I wind up spending quite a bit of time in it. So that one I might try and do some of the factions for it. I've had a couple on my wish list, which I'm just sort of waiting for the right price on. So I know actually someone mentioned that they were waiting for Midnight Suns to go on sale for this Steam sale. That's not happening. Like, it just came out. But I've had Sekiro Shadows Die Twice and Elden Ring on my wish list for a little while, and I might pull the trigger on those. Sekiro's a tough one because that may wind up as part of Game Pass if the Activision Blizzard Microsoft transaction closes. But obviously, like, I don't necessarily want to just build my life around waiting for that thing to go through. I suspect Elden Ring will probably not have a very steep discount, and I've not yet finished Dark Souls 3, so I don't exactly need to do that. So the other one that I would have noted would be, I saw someone play Sonic Frontiers recently, and really I was really interested in it. But it's actually already on sale. It's already got a 30% discount. So to be honest, looking at all the things here, like, there's a bunch of stuff that I'm interested in, but I'm not entirely sure that this holiday sale is where I'm not quite sure if I want to buy anything, because I don't really feel like I need it. If anything, I'm trying to get through my library. But it did just occur to me, and from your second comment, are you obviously my purchasing decisions are going to be determined by what I already own. If you're looking for recommendations, that's a very different story. Old World and Terra Invicta are two Hooded Horse games and Against the Storm, actually, those three Hooded Horse games I've really enjoyed. It is also worth mentioning that at least for two of them I was given a key for promotional purposes. Terra Invicta, I was a Kickstarter backer, but I believe I was also given a key for this as well. And then Industries of Titan I've really been enjoying, which would be another recommendation for the Steam sale. But obviously, because those are all ones that I'm sort of playing and enjoying, it's a little harder for me to sort of say that those are going to be ones I'm looking forward to getting at a discount, because I have the option of playing them whenever I want. Okay, I think the next cut's going to be a deep one. I'm possibly going to have to give up South Korea, but that has some boost income, so that might not be what I'm willing to give up yet. Yeah, it gives me a mission control and boost. So I think I'm going to start abandoning some of Central America. Oh, we were so close. Yeah, I think the original plan was to try and have
Standing by
version
for orders.
1.0 out for
Dominating the
for
opposition.
the end of this year, but
Acknowledged.
I mean, especially if you're going to be releasing a sim, now is not a really good time to be doing, like, Dwarf Fortress just
Taking
came out
power.
this month, so I can imagine that probably you don't want to be releasing sort of a sim around the time that one of the, like, the biggest sims is finally getting its
Ready to go.
debut. Now, I was thinking of getting Andre to continue to double down on the popular opinion, but it would seem to me like we probably want to secure ourselves in the rest of the region. So let's get cracking in Guatemala.
We must persuade the people.
Okay, I'm happy with this. Have I ever played Northgard? I don't believe I have. And Irrepressible, there are some comments that Tanya and Tarn have put out in terms of how the sales have gone. Obviously, there's more up-to-date information, but as far as the... What? Volcano erupts. A volcano has erupted in the Vancouver region. It has caused significant damage nearby and thrown a plume of ash into the air. Let's hope that they can rebuild. Stratospheric aerosols increased by 0.01 ppm. Causes major damage to the economy and population in Vancouver. Yeah, I was going to say, I would have expected a massive earthquake.
If
not
it isn't
the...
ours, it's somebody else's. And if it's somebody else's, sooner or later, they'll use it against us. That's why we have to take it. Whether we need it or not. Colonel Hans Castillo, 5 moves ahead.
I can say categorically that is not true about 1 million. The amount that Tanya reported was the point estimate that I did in the article was surpassed in the 24-hour period. And then I think the Adams brothers gave an interview which had said that they passed a different amount there. But the idea of 1 million units sold in a first week, like if it's a AAA game, I will absolutely believe that. But I think one of the problems is that because big game, like basically because indie games exist alongside really like large publisher releases, I think sometimes people can have a very unrealistic idea in terms of what is feasible for certain games. And so, again, like it's not to say that no indie in the world will ever fail to get like a million installs from its first week, but that would be so far beyond the numbers that the people who are releasing the game have been talking about. And it's also just so unlike what any other Steam release would be. Either Dwarf Fortress would be experiencing I would actually say basically an inversion of what the normal relationship between sales and time would be. It's a very good game and it's a very noteworthy game, but if you take a look at how it's been performing in terms of the global top sellers list, its number has been moving down over time. So basically you can infer from that, if it started at 160,000 or thereabouts in the first 24 hours, and its position in terms of the global top sellers has been moving down steadily over time, what you can draw from that is either every other game is seeing a very strong decrease in terms of their overall sales, or Dwarf Fortress is following the usual path of a very large spike at the beginning, and then over time the number is going down. Yeah, no worries. So I mean, again, like there is a real number, but that's for Kit Fox to talk about. Yeah, $1 million is believable. Although I did find, so I know like more popular press, sorry to pause the game for a little bit on this, more popular press has kind of started doing this, so I guess I kind of need to relax about it, but I actually found it kind of unseemly how the Dwarf Fortress community was kind of counting Bay 12's money for them. I sort of get, like, I guess, for game development, everybody sort of likes to feel happy for the people who got the golden ticket or something like that. But I don't know, like, I've always kind of thought it was a little off-putting to see people put so much kind of effort or so much focus in terms of how much money other people were making. Especially because, at least as far as the earlier interviews have gone, it seemed to be that the Adams brothers were not indifferent to wealth, but certainly did not seem to have ambitions beyond sort of ensuring the stability of the game and sort of their own. I know the reason why they talked to Kit Fox in the first place was because of health concerns, which I can realize are very costly in the United States. So, yeah, I don't know. I think probably some more people could use that example. Typical capitalist, don't share your salary with your coworkers. Oh no, I'm actually totally fine with people sharing their salary information, but just kind of like the idea of how many millions do these people have? I mean, presumably, if people want that information made public, they can. And the problem is the estimates that they make are totally off. They usually don't account for the 30% that Steam takes. There are taxes, obviously, for the individual games. I don't know how much money KitFox put into helping make the premium version, but my understanding is that Bay 12 gets 20% up until KitFox recover its costs, and so then 20% comes off of, and afterwards the relationship flips, so 80% to Bay 12, 20% to the publisher, which is KitFox. And the problem is that, like, unless you look at the contracts, you don't know, like, is it a percentage of revenue? So is this the pre-Steam amount? Is this the amount that's going to KitFox? Because let's face it, 30% of those numbers actually is quite a bit of money once you start talking about these ones. So in the end, like, we don't really learn anything about it. We speculate. And in the end, we're speculating about the amount of wealth from a couple of people who have been working on this project, I guess, full time since about 2006. So even though there's very large figures that are being put aside, like, in the end, if they were to have applied those skills towards, any other kind of software developer job, I suspect they probably would have had considerably less uncertainty and health insurance. Although obviously that's not the reason people do games. So. Yeah. The other thing to remember, though, is that Steam also reduces the amount that they take past certain thresholds, and I don't remember what those thresholds are, but I would probably not be surprised if Dwarf Fortress hits those numbers. I don't know, because I believe Tarn Adams' background was in mathematics, so I wouldn't be surprised if he had some programming knowledge just by virtue of going through advanced mathematics. That just tends to be a thing that I notice, among the mathematicians I know. And I mean, they were just starting their graduate work, and most of them seem to be reasonably knowledgeable about programming. But I couldn't tell you, to be honest. Like, I do not know that much about the creators. That's really cool, Castanar. Yeah, I've wanted to play Dwarf Fortress. I actually got the O'Reilly book to play it, and then the ASCII art was a little too much for me. And then I found out that there was going to be the Steam version. So I was looking forward to that. But in the end, so KitFox wasn't handling the key distribution. They hired someone for that, and I noticed that they really like to advertise the other things that they're covering, but for whatever reason, they decided that I wasn't a good fit for Dwarf Fortress, which is, again, totally their call, right? And, by extension, that's KitFox's call. I have nothing but good feelings to KitFox as a developer and as a publisher. But in the end, like, I was sort of hoping to use the occasion to learn it on stream, and it didn't come up. So I'll get around to Dwarf Fortress eventually, for sure. But in this case here, I have Terra Invicta to learn as well, so I'm not... I believe the way they do the versioning is the version number is the % complete of the original vision, and it's like 57 now or something like that. So they're at the halfway mark. But I have a feeling that, the longer I wait for Dwarf Fortress, just the more of this wonderful vision that Bay 12 has will be realized. So I'm really not necessarily in a rush to play it, other than, it'd be nice to see this incredibly influential game in a format that's probably a little bit more in line with what I'm expecting. Okay, I'll get this last comment, and then we will move ahead on science. A little conversation you had with a data scientist at work today. I need this Git management software because there is this function library which was only written in Python, uploaded to GitHub, and then abandoned, and I want to try and see if it makes my model better. Can't you just download... I mean, if it's on GitHub, like, can't you just download the repository as, like, a zip? That feels very weird. It feels like they just want to use Git, and that's going to be their excuse. Which, fair enough. Okay, sorry. Scientists around the world have gained an understanding of mission to the asteroids. The initiative contributed the most science to the effort and has selected advanced carbon manipulation as the direction for global research. If it isn't ours, it's somebody else's. And if it isn't somebody, and if it's somebody else's, sooner or later they'll use it against us. That's why we have to take it, whether we need it or not. Colonel Hans Castillo, Humanity First, quoted in his official biography, Five Moves Ahead, 2015, canceled before publication. Between Mars and Jupiter are a trove of rocks full of valuable elements. They fall into three broad categories. Stony asteroids have some metals. I think they wanted to switch the wording and forgot to get rid of one of the others. But also rare fissiles. Carbonaceous asteroids are sources of volatiles, and metallic asteroids are rich in base and noble metals. Chances of water grow where asteroids are located further from the sun. While much further away than the moon or Mars, their negligible gravity will allow us to construct catapults far more cheaply. So I don't think I'm going to send probes there. But let's see what the story is on advanced carbon manipulation. Okay, so we'll improve composite armor or graphene batteries. There is one other thing that occurred to me that I should have done earlier, because again, we're looking at reduction to boost costs. I should have just taken a search for boost. Nothing, huh? I guess because it's only titles? I know if you do it in something like the Amplitude games, like Endless Legend, they'll search the descriptions. Okay, that's a shame, but we don't need to spend too much time thinking about that. I can't remember, Irrepressible. Are you...
Things are cooling off.
Somehow attached to IT?
We're winning their hearts and minds.
In your firm? Okay, I'm going to make that a permanent assignment because we obviously have a lot of work ahead of us to try and clear out the influence of the servants. Panic has taken a hold in Washington. Okay, there's something going on here. Ah, gotcha.
Our people have taken control.
Okay. Control point lost. We've lost the aristocracy control point in Myanmar to the Protectorate. Many of our people are no longer responding to our communications, and we have lost a significant amount of power over events there. Cost of doing business.
We are in control now.
Okay, nice. We are probably going to have to abandon it right away, but...
We're taking over.
And yet another point for us in the U.S. So, we're at the point now where we just need the executive. But I also have a whole bunch of work ahead of me to try and make this all balance out, so... I'm just gonna cancel all the... I wish I had a better system for figuring out what was important in terms of the news, because I suspect I'm leaving a lot of important details aside. But for the most part, we are accomplishing what I want. One other thing that's not clear to me either is if I take a look at... So things like fleet, ship construction, and all of that, I was fairly certain we sent a probe to Mars. Clearly it's not arrived yet. But I also don't have any way of sort of checking in on the progress of... Oh no, here it is. Survey completion, 15th of April. So there's a few things that I want to do. First of all, let's review my counselors, because I think at least one of them should be able to get some more admin. So there's the temptation for Cygnus. Pretty tempting. As always, we do a quick review for any admin that we might get. So in this case, we'll just add Cygnus for the extra engineering. I don't know. Well, yes, through the National Security Agency, Irrepressible. Yeah, no, I can imagine. Oh wow, there's actually a lot of signals intelligence. So I believe the government communications headquarters is the British NSA, and then we already have the CSE in Canada. So a bunch of signals intelligence. I don't know if there are social media networks in the orgs. I believe the wiki will actually have a list of these things, but there are definitely some organizations in the game that are, you can kind of get a pretty heavy indication in terms of who they're meant to be sort of an emulation of. I'll see if I can find it quickly in the wiki, but I do want to spend some time sort of setting this back. Obviously, we've made some effort in terms of reassigning certain priorities, but in the end, in terms of actually getting objects into space, we're still behind. So I want to try and make sure that I'm getting on top of. I want to try and make sure that I'm getting on top of some of these priorities. See, a lot of government organization. Steak for all. Maybe I should see if I can organize it by persuasion. Oh, there's no way of making sense out of that. Okay, it's a little too hard for me to sort that out right now, Irrepressible. Okay, so one thing I do want to do, we did have a bit of a plan for the moon. So yeah, the initiative wound up sort of scooping up Piri Crater from under us. I'm actually really not that compelled by any of the other options. Although I am curious why it's not giving me the option to... Oh, here we would. Okay. Yeah, so that would be 9. Now I am slightly curious when it comes to Mars. Can we just hop on to the area without checking it out? Clearly not. So yeah, I was kind of interested in knowing what the cost would be, but that's a conversation for another time. So yeah, I think in this case we abandon the moon unless we want to try and steal a location out from underneath someone else. But obviously I need to take care of some other priorities. So first of all, Nicaragua is where it needs to be. Honduras, we took it to my resist, and then we're going to change that back to the nice people option. I'm going to change it around now, so for the countries I'm developing, I'm going to put 1 point into, well, let's say the Central American countries. But yeah, so abandon. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to cut deeper, but this is a dangerous one because of what the shenanigans that the servants are up to. Now, for some reason, I did not abandon the Pacific States. So I think this time I'm just going to accept the losses, because in the end we're going to be sneaking out the Caribbean states in just a little bit, and that should give us what we need. Okay.
Ready.
So first off, is it Guntari or is it Amvi? So this one I can never remember. Okay, espionage.
Ready to go.
Okay, so Guntari's
Ready
the better.
to go.
Better
Ready.
at espionage. Against my better judgment, so we had panic in Washington. So I'm going to do
On
surveillance. I'm going to do surveillance in Washington just to see what the deal is there. We're doing incredibly well in our reputation in terms of the U.S. A little weirded out as to how little boost we're generating, but I'll have to live with that. Finally, I want to keep track of what's happening in research. I'm not going to be checking it out as obsessively, but I do just want to make sure that I'm still maintaining roughly the trajectory that I thought. Yeah, actually, we're about to surpass the servants, which is good. So we're currently at 1233. They are at 1369. I'm not going to measure the protectorate anymore. Oh, Jesus. I've been... Okay. So I'm going to overtake the... I'll overtake the servants first. And then we'll see if we can allocate the research a little bit better. So servants are at 1369. Resistance is at 1223. I'll keep an eye on that for the next period, and then I'll probably roll back my research after that.
Surveilling target area.
Okay, that didn't show us anything interesting.
We will never know if Lise Meitner and Otto Hahn even dreamed that their discovery of nuclear fission would one day be used to build spaceships. Let us hope, nevertheless, that we would have made them proud. Chancellor Li Qingzao, keynote speech at the Spaceport Summit.
When nuclear fission was discovered in 1938, few would have believed that there would one day be, that we would one day use it to launch mankind into the vast endlessness of space. And yet, based on our foundational work in achieving nuclear fission in space, we have now created the first generation of solid core fission systems to power both habitats and spaceships. By using solid fuel made of heavy radioactive materials such as uranium dioxide or plutonium oxide, we can create a reactor that sustains the chain reaction even in zero-G. The first fission reaction is activated by bombarding the solid fuel with slow-moving neutrons to overcome the binding nuclear force that holds the nucleus of an atom together, releasing a flood of neutrons and energy as it breaks apart. This released energy is captured as heat by pressurized water cooling systems designed for space. This is an advancement that will enable new and larger habitats beyond Earth's orbit, and spaceship drives more powerful than ever before possible. Future fission systems will likely employ molten or gas core fuels, which our researchers believe will put us in more than even footing with alien visitors. Increases global nuclear fission tech level by 1, buffering the world against energy crises. The following technologies may now be researched: molten core fission systems, and the following projects may unlock for us to research in the future. Our current chance to unlock a project once all the prerequisites is fulfilled is also shown. So we can do solid core fission reactor 1, which I believe will be required for Mars. Just use fusion. The sun uses it. Can't be that hard. Yeah, so what is your sorry, I can't remember which relative it was, but I'm sure they wish they were at Lawrence Livermore instead. Okay, I'm going to take a quick second on the wiki again, and this is because it actually talked a bit about, in the beginner's guide, it talks a bit about Mars, and I wanted to make sure that I got this right. So fission piles for mining on Mars. And the initiative seems to have chosen arrival economics. Alien base is on Europa. Ah! It's too many bases.
Things are stabilizing.
The United States is now in guerrilla war. Wow. I'm getting clobbered here. Okay, project complete, liquid hydrogen containment. Oh, God. I think we got to prepare for Mars operations. And of course, all the effort that we're putting into... Yeah, so they're clearly targeting North America here. But our investigations are just totally failing to figure anything out. Montreal is seeing an explosion in growth of alien life forms. The scale of alien life forms is already a whole ecosystem in itself. Environmental agencies are concerned that its growth could spiral out of control if not addressed immediately, while xenobiologists argue that it presents a unique chance to study the aliens' ecosystem on a larger scale. Dispatch teams to burn away as much as they can. Small amount, arrange for our researchers to have full access to the site. No, we want to eliminate as much, or invoke a sudden flowering as a sign of... Yeah, no. Dispatch teams to burn away as much as they can. And, okay, again, we expect some of this stuff to happen, so no surprises there. Excellent. Okay, so now we can abandon the Caribbean states.
We failed to take control.
Well, before we do that. And now we're back in compliance. And I agree that it would be better defended with protect interests. Unfortunately, I do not yet have the executive.
Where do you need me?
Okay, so Guntari's done exactly what we wanted them to do. The question now is, do I send them on the charm offensive, or do we try and do something else? I'm going to do one more investigation. This time we're going to do it... Well, let's do it in Quebec.
Initiating recon.
Where do you need me?
Now, for MV... I think we're going to do our usual build our reputation strategy. So we will do a public campaign in El Salvador.
I will try to sway the public.
And yeah, I mean, Toby's got their work cut out for them at this point. And we're closing in on the servants, but we're not quite ready to reassign our priorities. So we're now up to 1423, so that seems like we're doing an even 200 a turn. They're up to 1589. So that would imply imply that they're actually doing 220 a turn. That can't be right. So we'll see, unless they've gotten considerably better. I'm going to keep an eye on that.
Setting a watch.
There it is. We're now able to undertake the Outpost Mining Complex project. So that's definitely one that I'm going to want to follow up on pretty quickly.
Order is returning.
Public opinion is moving in our direction.
We hold no sway in their minds.
I'm going to make that a permanent assignment. Again, we're just going to try and move to 50% or higher in sort of our sphere of influence.
We were unable to establish control.
With 500 influence, I may want to consider...
I'm here.
It's a coin toss. I think I will leave that.
Where to?
Okay, so I want my best, my highest command to deal with this, and that is
Ready for
now...
my mission.
No, actually, command 10. But I think he gets a bonus. Okay, so if we send him to assault in Montreal, that's an 84.
Standing by.
Gantari, 74.
Your orders?
Ready.
Yeah, so the scientist
Ready for my
is...
mission.
Scientist
Your
is
orders.
just too swole.
Where to?
I'm willing to
Heading to the
spend
LZ.
4 on it.
Reporting in.
Where to?
So we need Umvi to help stabilize the
We'll turn
states.
down the heat.
Standing by for orders.
And we will renew our interest in El Salvador.
We'll make our appeal.
I didn't clear out any of this. Okay, let's pause and just get that sorted. I think a lot of this is just stuff we've already covered, but it's nice to be sure. Yeah, the big worry here is just the number of new bases that the aliens are setting up, while we're still struggling to get ourselves set up on Mars.
The people will come to our side.
Things are cooling off.
Our cause is unjustified to them.
Now, for some reason, our ability to persuade just dropped by a lot.
Target destroyed.
Our assault on the alien life forms in Montreal was successful. We estimate we reduced the alien flora and fauna in this region by 40%, but it's likely that some remains. So I don't know if we would want to do surveillance for that again, but I guess we'll find out. Okay, we knew Bulgaria was eventually going
Our
to fall.
supporters are in place.
Oh, okay, we have the states now. Speaking out, Chashu is making an unauthorized appearance on television. The appearance is not very flattering for our faction. In her speech, she is lambasting our methods and goals, denouncing us both as ineffectual and unconscionable. Our personnel director will be hearing about this shortly. So we can have the broadcast shut down. Information about resistance will be exposed to our enemy, and the resistance suffers a massive loss in public opinion around the world. Whip up our own broadcast disavowing Cheshu and refuting her assertions. We do not have mass communications tech yet, nor do we have 5,000, or order her taken into custody. Yeah, we're just going to have to lock her up for 4 turns. As it is, we did control the United States, so now I have to make some choices about what countries I give up. So everything is on the table now. I need to find 43 point... Actually, I suspect some of this admin is going to be lost because my counselor is detained. So what happened with Humanity First? They launched a new station. We have a non-aggression pact with them, so I can live with that for now.
Reporting in.
Let's get Toby back to stabilizing
We'll
the
restore
nation.
peace to this nation.
Your orders?
Gonna send Guntari on one more investigation in Montreal. Oops.
Initiating
Montreal,
surveillance.
just in case.
Acknowledged.
And yeah, sadly, abandoned South Korea. Oh yeah, sorry, there was one other thing I wanted to do. Okay, and as always, we kind of have to face a bit of a choice. Minotaur risk management is quite tempting because of the ops, which I'm always short on. It's also better than the Jade Fund, because the Jade Fund costs a lot of money. Okay, so I got 2 people working on...
Ready to go.
I've got 2 people working on stabilizing the states. I'm pretty sure everything... Like, if I'm gonna cut anything else, it's basically Mexico and Canada at this point. I'm pretty sure everything else I've abandoned. So I'm going to see what I can do with North America right now, at least until the detention is finished. And I can't remember if I... Is it too real for you? Okay, so we're at 1838 compared to their 2047. So we went up by 415. Interesting. So it looks like the servants are actually outpacing us on the research. I think I'm going to keep the status quo at the moment. Oh yeah, our science is actually dropping a lot. I'm assuming this is because of all the troubles in the States. But this must mean that they're throwing everything into the... This must mean that they're throwing everything at the problem. So investments in knowledge are the way that we... I hope this doesn't bankrupt me. The question is, do I put it into welfare, which will help with the inequality, or I can put it into the... you know what? The unity is the higher priority right now.
Surveilling target area. will be ready for new orders soon.
Toby's gonna go blow up some more. Blow up some more aliens. And we now have a Mexican space flight. Okay, I'm gonna...
Things are cooling off.
We've moved the needle.
Nuclear test detected. Iran has completed a nuclear weapons test to the horror of the world. It gains 1 bomb and now can build more. All factions with control points in the nation gain 1 atrocity and suffer from a negative shift in public opinion worldwide. So that was the servants. The aliens now have the bomb.
We were unable to increase security.
So I'm really cutting my funding to the bone now. Okay, that's fair. We abandoned Australia. Okay, as always, Toby is our lead on taking out the aliens.
Going in hot.
What's this? Okay, lost a control point. We also lost an org, but again, I've got more orgs than I can handle right now. Now, there may be a point where I want to try and improve the loyalty of my counselors. It's kind of an open question as to whether or not I'm actually going to be able to achieve any of that. Okay. So we can buy boost. Or we can try and... Okay, well, first of all... No! Crap. That's terrible. I just paid boost so that I could... Damn it! How long ago was the last autosave? I thought that was a gain, not a cost. Sorry, I don't normally like cheesing stuff like this, but boost is a pretty valuable resource for me right now. Okay, yes, it did not lock in. So I probably should have just paid closer attention, to be completely honest, but... So essentially what I'm looking at here, right, is we have another opportunity to not only just... So in this case, we do actually improve our boost, but we also improve the science. And this would suggest that I want to try and find a way of dividing... So, for instance, Minotaur risk management is not the most important thing that Toby can be working with. The question is, can I find another point of science? So, one other thing I would observe would be I could get rid of something like Crater Systems, and then just apply that to someone else. So, Crater Systems provides 1 science. Arcturus Heavy Industries also provides 1 science. Yeah, so here's what we do. Minotaur and Crater go away. Arcturus Heavy Industries gets added to the portfolio. So we have to make sure that... Yeah, so we definitely need to make sure that this gets added to the list. These are bankrolling me right now, so I can't really afford to do that. So the question is, do I want the extra espionage for Guntari, or do I want Minotaur risk management instead for the ops? I do really want the ops. So I think that's our new setup. Okay, I will clear out messages I'm ignoring and probably shouldn't. I will take a quick look at the state of the world. Oh, hang on, I actually haven't put everyone onto their tasks yet. Okay, so Toby, the badass scientist, will assault an alien
At your
asset.
service.
Guntari will... Well, I would have wanted them to calm everything down.
I will tell our story.
Reporting in.
Amvi's still got to work on U.S. relations. I'm really not sure about this choice that I made for industrialization of space. This could prove to be a very expensive miscalculation.
We hold no sway in the mines.
I made that permanent.
Things are stabilizing.
I think probably she's going to wind up investigating Montreal again. I'm all
Score one for the good.
Excellent. All right, our assault on the alien life forms in Montreal was successful. We estimate we reduced alien flora and fauna in the region by 62%, but there are likely some remnants. So Toby's going to go back to bringing peace to the United States, and then we'll try and bring people back in. Now, I am going to go crazy, and I'm actually going to pull back the funding all the way. Okay, that's a shame we lost South Korea, but that was bound to happen. So I'm actually going to put more into Unity just so we can bring the states back to where it needs to go, because I'm really trying to find the sources of these problems. So we pull the funding back completely in the states, and we put all of that into Unity. Again, we're not falling back in terms of any of our other enhancements. We're still focusing on welfare, still focusing on knowledge and military and such.
At your service.
But right now we need to get get everything back under control.
At your service.
I'm here.
Oh.
What's the op? We'll see what we can find.
Activity.
Standing by for orders.
Okay,
Reporting in.
Let's make sure there's no others. So same story with Canada. We want to make sure that we've gotten rid of all the nastiness. I don't think people are at a point... I know we were getting close, but I don't think the missions I've done are the ones that get me... Oh, there it is. I don't think we've done any of the missions that quite get me to the 20, but it's particularly important for me to get either my administration or my persuasion as quickly as possible, because that's going to be a deciding factor as to whether or not I don't want to spend money. Let's do Heracles Systems for now. Yeah, close. Oh, no, there we go. So again, we still have a massive gap in terms of our ability to control, but I want to see whether or not that is because my celebrity is currently incarcerated. Okay, obviously I didn't pay attention to that. We are now able to undertake the Solid Core Fission Reactor 1 project. I believe that's for my hubs? I need to follow up.
Just imagine, Ifechi, how this world would change if we could mass manufacture building materials in an instant. Homes built for mere pennies, irrigation for every village, a brighter, fairer future for all. Commissioner Kiran Banerjee, Private Correspondence.
To build our way to the stars, we will require far more efficient resources than we have now. As the fourth most abundant element in the universe, and indeed the second most in the human body, carbon is a near endless and highly adaptable resource. By developing our understanding of carbon's properties and limits, we have become able to manipulate it at a molecular level. This will enable the creation of ever more impressive, yet ever more affordable building materials and structures, both here on Earth and eventually throughout the galaxy. The following technologies may now be researched: carbon nanotubes, and the following projects may unlock for us to research in the future. Our current chance to unlock a project once all prerequisites are fulfilled are shown below: composite armor and graphene batteries. Lots of projects. So again, I want to try and figure out where we stand in terms of our ability to compete with the servants on tech.
Things are stabilizing.
We hold no sway in their minds.
Public opinion is moving in our direction.
Here's what we found.
Doesn't look like my investigators actually did what they were supposed to. I definitely want to get rid of the servants there. Yeah, so for whatever reason we didn't actually investigate Montreal. I should follow up on that. Okay.
Where to?
So I think Gunarty is the better of the two for... Wow.
Acknowledged.
Standing by.
Okay, so I need a crack investigator.
Standing by for orders.
Standing by for orders. Applying pressure on their people.
Standing by.
Ready for my mission. We'll see what we can find.
Ready for orders.
Too many tasks.
Investigating alien site.
Your orders?
So I guess the investigation in Montreal doesn't happen again. All right. Well, I mean that's I gotta prioritize. So again, I've learned not to touch this until the game is paused.
Violence is abating.
Crackdown complete.
Nice. So we should be able to kick them out.
We found something.
Recon complete.
Okay, so there's going to be at least one more alien task that we need to deal with. I think we should get Zhao Shu back, and then... Nice. Okay, so we finished Fission Pile. I think I wanted to do Solid Core Fission Reactor next. Now this is for ships, though. So are there any other sort of HABs or anything like that that I... Oh, yep, nope. Nuclear freighters reduces boost for sending material from Earth to beyond low Earth orbit. So that is... but it's 2,000. Do I want to... Well, what else am I going to do, right? Outpost Mining Complex is important, but I can research that while the tech's on its way to Mars. I'm free, Commander, quite literally. Okay, so the gap isn't as bad as it seems, but it's still something that needs to be dealt with. I don't actually have a good way of dealing with it. What I might try and do is get some kind of an alliance with the Initiative. I'll have to think about that. Okay, but let's focus on the task at hand. So...
reporting in.
Interesting. Okay, so there's nothing else for us to work on. So, Purge requires espionage, and I can't remember who my best spy is.
Ready to go.
Other than Toby. Toby's basically the best at everything.
Reporting in.
But...
ready to go.
In this case, we are going to take back Guatemala.
Terminating the opposition.
Your orders?
Get Andre back to...
I will try to sway the public.
Saying good things about us. Let's get...
standing by.
Zhao Shi to also publicize our good works.
Ready for orders.
And finally, Amvi is going to check out what's happening in Montreal. Well,
initiating
Quebec,
surveillance.
I guess they went for the city. Finally, I do want to make sure that my counselors aren't in a position to be improved, and as always, it's nice to double check that there aren't orgs that it can improve. So the priorities, so as the game says here, right, you want to have administration, command, or persuasion. And so as long as there are orgs available that will give me one of those things. So for instance, the Madisonian Society, as well as Fuerza de Guerra Naval Especial, these are two that will improve my ability to control points. The catch now is we also need to figure out, well, what do I give up in order to accomplish that? So, you know, all of these are providing... in their own way, they're providing something that I want. Heracles systems, there's a little bit less of an argument. So then the question would be, okay, can I find a second one to kick out? And in the case of Crater Systems, actually Polaris Marketing theoretically would be one. Well, okay. This is probably stupid for me to do. But it is helping me with my cap. And it does give me a couple things at least that I wanted. So, we'll see. I'm going to see if I can get by without taking any funding for the countries that are currently in distress. We have a decent enough reserve, so... Alright, well, more we can take out then. Swole Toby is on the case. So I'm gonna send, I think I should send MV out to deal with Singapore next.
Things are stabilizing.
Public opinion is moving in our direction.
Okay, permanent assignment for Andre.
We're winning their hearts and minds.
Permanent in El Salvador. And hopefully Gennady will be freed up. Ukraine conquered. The armies of Russia conquered Ukraine, but it may rise again. So, unclear as to whether or not that is a humanity first or a
Our
academy win.
associates are now in charge.
Spaceflight program initiated in Romania. And we have lost mass media in Romania. Okay, there's a lot for me to get through. So let's, first of all, we'll abandon Guatemala. We're still going to assign...
Standing by for orders.
Okay, so Toby...
Acknowledged.
Toby's on the assault mission.
We're going in.
Acknowledged.
Gennady... Oh! Yeah, we're definitely spending
Heading
up
to
on
the LZ.
At your service.
Okay, so Amvi, I'm going to send off to Singapore. My geography is terrible. Okay, Cambodia, Vietnam... There we go.
Surveilling target area.
That's because of the returned abductees. There is a really interesting short story you can get out of this, that during a terrestrial conflict, people are so focused on enemy positions that it allows a creature or some kind of life from outer space to take hold. Anyway, let's see where
Initiating
this takes us.
recon.
I guess we don't have anybody taking care of the states today, or this turn. That's a little bit of a concern, but once
we're winning their hearts and minds.
Once a few of these
People will come to our side.
Culture? Culture is nothing more than a qualitative marketing profile. Whether your line is boots, carbonated beverages, or civilian firearms, Your job is to develop products that people will incorporate into their identities so deeply they can't see where their personality stops and our branding begins. Chairman Soren van Wyk remarks during conference call with senior product managers.
As socially interactive creatures, humans have always relied on systems of exchange for goods and services. These systems have often found themselves affected by sweeping societal changes such as new alliances, advancements in technology, and looming conflict. But the confirmed existence of an extraterrestrial race may perhaps be the single most seminal of these moments. As speculation abounds regarding their intention, and we could contend with the possibility that we are no longer an apex predator, the potential for riches or ruin has never been greater. Today's banking and investment systems were not designed to cope with such a sweeping change to Earth's place in the universe, both in terms of domestic adjustment to the alien arrival and in terms of humanity's likely future amongst the stars. We must task our best economists with calming the startled markets, funding new ways of living, and ultimately laying the groundwork for deep space society and commerce. The following projects may unlock for us in the future arrival markets. And they chose Ad Astra for the next. Okay, more returned abductees.
The LZ is secure.
The LZ is secure.
17% is not a number I'm happy with.
Cleaning things up.
I wish I read how much was gotten rid of in Quebec. Okay, so we'll send Amvi to investigate. Actually, I should send the one who... Oh, clearly we have our work cut out for us. So, Toby comms the United
Restoring
States.
order.
Ready for orders.
Ready.
Gennady cannot calm
Ready
things
to go.
down. Okay, yep, so there's more alien life forms in Kharkiv, so we'll go for
Going in
90%
hot.
here.
Where do you need me?
Which I guess means that Amvi has to investigate Nairobi.
On the way to the target site.
Which means investigation for Montreal is going to be something we follow up later. And I'll also add yeah, so I want to contact the initiative, see if we can get some sort of agreement. Okay, I'm going to abandon Iceland. Same with Guyana. Just a handful of points. So as always, we just take a quick look to see if it will help us with our administration. DARPA is also interesting. It's huge cost, but one for me to keep an eye on. Okay. So it's mostly 20s, but not exclusively. Okay, so yeah, so we don't have Israel. That won't help us. DARPA is super expensive, but it is good for science. So theoretically, if our daily income is 7, yeah, that is a big chunk out of our budget, but let's... The question here is basically if I can somehow get Toby to free up 3. So the thing is that I only get 1 science bonus from this. So the Desir Foundation gives me 1. Apiary gives me 2. Okay, so arguably Desir and Arcturus can be switched out, but then the question is where do those go? Actually, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to sort that out, so let's... No way. I have 200... Okay, so what's the deal here? It's a lot of money I just had to give up to find that out. So let's see what the deal is. Headquartered in the Washington region. So needs to be government, which he is not. But Andre is. Definitely gets complicated. Okay, so the Reddington Agency... Okay, so let me just draft this. I'm gonna have to draft the move here. So persuasion is desirable for Andre to have, so I'm gonna say that we keep the Madisonian Society. Crater Systems, Reddington, JTF2 requires government, so we can't move that. Okay, so that's 3 points. But I only have 2 to play with, I think. Yeah, sadly, I need just 1 more point to be able to find the stuff. Because like, the problem is, if I get rid of Rio Protection, that loses a point that I need towards my cap. Okay, well, that's a pity. Let's take a look at where we're at with research. So I've gone up to 3259, but they are up to 3401. That's 1, 2... 21 compared to 1654. Where the hell are they getting this science from? We're at 25.6, they're at 14.2, and they're still outpacing us research-wise. hate that I'm stalling out nuclear freighters, but... Rival markets is tempting, but
order
I'm
is
not
returning.
Quite ready. I'm not quite ready to abandon my current research
Public
plan.
sentiment is increasingly with us.
Oh Jesus, I haven't done. I mean, this is fine because I actually didn't think that I had control of this anyway. But it just occurred to me, I've not actually defended the states. I should get on that.
Targets destroyed.
Okay. Left.
Prepping for the next mission.
22. I wish it was better, but...
We found something. Cleaning things up.
Okay, lots of things to do. So, first up, Amvi is going to protect us in the States.
Securing our control.
Ganarti is going to investigate Quebec. I'm so bad at
on
doing
Overwatch.
Where do you need me?
These seem to be where I want them to be. Again, I'm trying to get up to 50% or higher in the different regions. So, States is starting to stabilize, although the cohesion is just, like, a disaster. I am really encouraged, though, to see how... In fact, I want to know what happens. So in the case of Canada, we're going to do something a little funny. We're actually going to completely withdraw the funding. And the argument here is, I don't need to worry about unity in Canada. I don't need to worry about... like, right now, this is just boosting the amount that's going to sort of economy and welfare and such. So, I want to see whether or not that we can afford that and still achieve our goals. Oh, sorry, there was one other thing I wanted to do. So we're at 3608 to their 35. Oh, wow, we're clobbering them now. Okay, but I do want an idea in terms of what they're contributing.
Initiating recon.
Securing our interests.
So the point of Toby is going to be to actually be advising the U.S. government, not sort of bringing it back from
things are cooling off.
An insurgency.
We've moved the needle.
We've moved the needle.
Baby steps. Yeah, cash-wise, the fact that we got rid of funding in Canada does not seem to have affected us at all. So in this case, we're going to focus on building up the nation. I mean, arguably, we probably should be trying to get even more money. The fact that to stop one of our agents going rogue would have cost us 5,000 is clearly not going to help us. But okay. Clear out the queue. Obviously something for me to follow up investigation-wise.
Standing by for orders. We'll recon the sites.
So we didn't find anything
Standing
in
by for orders.
Canada, so that's kind of free. A free spot for me to work with. What's the story here? Okay, people are just exploring space. Okay, so now I've got someone free. I am mildly tempted to just stabilize the states.
We'll make things safe.
Just double it up here. We're improving democracy. Yeah, actually things are starting to look a bit better as far as how the states is looking, so... Now, numbers. 3940. 3590. Okay, so they say 3512. So that would imply that they put in 78 on research. Whereas I put in 332. That seems like something of a gap. Now, against my better judgment, I'm actually going to put 1 point into everything now. I probably shouldn't. What I really want to be doing is maintaining industrialization in space just enough to be able to keep my edge. But, here's the other way I'm going to work with this. I definitely want to make sure that nuclear freighters is finished and finished soon. And the reason for that is I'm actually going to want to start sending things to Mars. Okay, so resistance and servants. And it is February 1st. So this should give me an estimate of roughly what people are putting in for research. Project complete. Alien movements. We have completed the Alien Movements Project. By studying residue found in the vicinity of reported alien sightings, we have established that, rather than sweating liquid as humans do, these aliens dissipate heat in a similar manner to dry ice sublimating from solid to gas. Fortunately for us, tracking this is relatively straightforward. During the peak of the global war on terror, most nations were already using forward-looking infrared, FLIR, to detect biological aerosol threats. By expanding the qualities and capabilities of such systems, we will be able to detect the presence of this alien byproduct in real time. So, objective complete. We have completed the Research Alien Movements objective. We have combined old-fashioned satellite coverage with some newly developed technology designed to detect aliens via their biological signatures. As more intelligence agencies and telecommunications companies join our cause, our tracking network is expanding to cover the entire globe. It's crude, and we're having to depend on a lot of people whom I don't trust very much, but if we're right, it'll give us the capability to track alien movements on Earth in real time. Let's see if it works. New objective, acquire an alien corpus. Corpus or corpse? I guess the same origin word. Here's Chalk with the games that require the fancy audiovisual equipment. The guy sure loves his flashing lights. How you doing, MC? We have learned all we can from remotely studying our enemy. To go further, we need an actual alien specimen. As yet, we have no idea how to protect ourselves from whatever mechanism the aliens use to enthrall humans, so our solution is to render the alien unable to enthrall us by killing it. A few of our researchers have objected to carrying out what amounts to an assassination mission, but given how many humans have died in the conflict already, the majority of our personnel are less squeamish. It is important, however, that we do not execute this operation in a casual manner. The aliens and their human allies have no doubt become aware of our efforts, and it seems likely that we are inviting retaliatory strikes when we go forward. Detect an alien operative on Earth and conduct an assassinate mission against it. It is possible assaulting alien installations on Earth or in space may also yield an alien body for study, but it is difficult to predict under what circumstances that might occur. So I'm going to take a second here and just take a look. Okay, so we need to found a base, acquire a corp, salvage alien technology. We've been trying to salvage alien technology forever. Xenoflora defolians is very tempting right now, because that's at least a long-term one for me to work with.
Violence is abating.
Our cause is unjustified to them.
Public opinion is moving in our direction.
Things are cooling off.
So the States is where we want it to be, which is good. I'm going to get Toby to basically make it super. A superpower, if you will.
Recon complete.
Looks like we got a couple of investigations to do. Okay, first up, I need to abandon nations again. This is to get our control points under, or at least as close to limit as we can. Now, I'm also going to take a second here and make sure that my people are... Oh, that's an extra 3 administration. So that might actually unlock DARPA for me. So the best would be if I could somehow get crater systems. Okay, well, either way, I'm going to make this work. Okay, so I need 3 for... Toby definitely gets crater systems. Now the next question is there anybody else who can enhance his science? No. And we also are short on Reddington systems, so... I think I just kneecap my ops. So these are a little bit more because I can. But Toby now has 19 science that he's contributing. And we're also in compliance as far as our control points are concerned. So that sounds like a good day's work. We're now ready to start doing some more exciting things. So one thing I want to highlight, States is peaceful now. We're working on unity, but again, that's we're paying for that. There's not a whole lot for me to do otherwise. Mexico, same story. We're improving unity. I think what we'll do here, we'll take... Okay, so first of all, Toby is now going to advise... Please, okay, good. So, provide expertise to a nation or HAB. The counselor's science, command, and administration attributes will improve the target's research output, combat capabilities, and financial performance. Additional advising counselors provide diminishing benefits. So, for 10 influence...
Reporting in.
For 10 influence, we are putting a considerable bonus on what the United States can do. Now, Guntari does not have the ability to make a region peaceful, so we're going to send them to deal with the alien activity in New Delhi. Now. And then what I'm going to do now, I'm going to send Amvi to go and deal with Mexico's unrest first.
Restoring
and this is because
order.
Mexico is one that we actually outright control. So we're going to deal with the strife first, and then the other thing is we do want to make sure that we're dealing with democratic values and that. If you're ever curious in terms of what the pushes and pulls are, you can actually use the mouse over tooltips. So in this case, flawed democracy 7.716. The score actually went down by 0.007. A nation's government score measures the amount of democracy in a country, which represents things like civil liberties, popular selection of leaders, press freedoms, and rule of law via an independent judiciary. This impacts many things, including national stability and cohesion, research production, corruption, economic growth, and the effectiveness of the military in controlling unrest. Government increases by 0.05 per 2 investment points in the knowledge priority. It changes by negative 0.001 per 2 investment points in the unity priority. So I'm actually kind of... I'm actually undermining my my role here. So let me just see if there's something else I can do about cohesion. So fragmented. Absent unusual circumstances, cohesion in this nation will change by plus 0.1 a month until it reaches a rest value of 2. If cohesion is 0, unrest rises much more rapidly. A nation's cohesion represents a level of unity or conflict among the people of the nation. This includes cultural, ideological, ethnic, and religious similarities and differences. High values describe a unified society that brooks little deviation or dissent. Middle values represent a diverse society that has both internal conflict and a healthy creative counterculture. Middle-low values represent a high degree of political polarization. And the lowest values mean the nation's people are fragmented or even tribal. High values keep unrest in check and increase the nation's ability to resist occupation. While middle values provide bonus to national research production representing a robust, if messy, marketplace of ideas, low values will rapidly increase unrest. Cohesion is lowered by high inequality, anocracy, having lots of regions or a large population, destruction of armies, and a large difference between public opinion and the ideology of a control point. control point owners. Cohesion is increased by wars, near-peer rivals, autocracy, and the unity priority. Democracy pulls it towards a middle value. Cohesion increases by 0.0542 per 2 investment points, and the unity priority changes by 0.01 towards the value of 5 per 2 investment points in knowledge. So we're really investing as much as we can, but this is, again, a neat little... So, like, Canada will appreciate this a lot more recently, I feel. There's two instances of this. So there was a... Pierre Elliott Trudeau, so the father of the current prime minister, was faced with a crisis. I believe it's known as the FLQ crisis. And essentially this was a group that wanted effectively the independence of Quebec. And they took hostages and essentially demanded that a manifesto be read, etc. This was a foreign ambassador and a member of the provincial cabinet, and I believe the member of provincial cabinet was ultimately killed as a result of this activity. So this is the thing that is worth remembering as far as the thing that's worth remembering as far as Canada is concerned is that this is the sort of thing that you tend to associate with, when you hear the story, right, a cell seeking the independence of this region, and they've kidnapped members of the government, and they're demanding their manifesto be read. You tend not to think of a North American country when you hear news items like that. But this is as recent as 1970, so there are people who are alive who will have a very clear memory of this. And there's a rather famous moment with Pierre Trudeau where somebody with essentially it's a CBC reporter, sort of stops him on the steps of Parliament, and they kind of question him about the use of the military. In the case of, Ottawa, there were soldiers on the street. And essentially, there's actually, if you get a chance to see it, it is a very interesting interview because of the, just because of the way that the Prime Minister, right, is able to answer questions sort of directly from a member of the press on his way in. It's the sort of thing that you really don't see on television all that much anymore. In any case, there is a bit of an exchange that goes... Actually... Okay. I feel a little bad about this because I'm not 100% sure about the status, but I actually think this is interesting enough. I'm pretty sure this should count as fair use. So I'm actually going to take a second here to show this exchange. Sorry, there will be video in just a minute here. So again, what I'll do is I'll start with Wikipedia to give you sort of a timeline of events leading up to this. So October 5th, Montreal, Quebec, 2 members of the Liberation Cell of the FLQ kidnap British diplomat James Cross from his home. The kidnappers are disguised as delivery men bringing a package for his recent birthday. Once the maid lets him in, they pull out a rifle and a revolver and kidnap Cross. This is followed by a communique to the authorities containing the kidnappers' demands, which include the exchange of Cross for, quote, political prisoners, unquote. A number of convicted or detained FLQ members, and the CBC broadcast of the FLQ manifesto. The terms of the ransom note are the same as those found in June for the planned kidnapping of a U.S. consul. At this time, the police do not connect the two. October 8th, broadcast of the FLQ manifesto in all French and English speaking media outlets in Quebec. October 10th, Montreal, Quebec, members of the Chenier Cell approached the home of Quebec Minister of Labour, Pierre Laporte, while he was playing football with his nephew on his front lawn. Members of the Chenier Cell of the FLQ kidnapped Laporte. October 11th, the CBC broadcasts a letter from captivity from Pierre Laporte to Premier of Quebec, Robert Bourassa. October 12th, General Gilles Ducos sends troops from the Royal 22nd Regiment to guard federal property in the Montreal region by request of the federal government. Lawyer Robert Lemieux is appointed by the FLQ to negotiate the release of James Cross and Pierre Laporte. The Quebec government appoints Robert Demers. October 13th, Prime Minister Trudeau is interviewed by the CBC with respect to the military presence. And this is where we pick up. This is a 7-minute clip, so it is going to go on a little bit longer, but this is going to tie into sort of Unity and some of the ideas that I like about this game. So let's just length on that. There is one detail that I'll offer. As you can see, there is the next broadcast here says the War Measures broadcast, so you sort of know where this all heads. I was curious.
Because the choice you have to make in the kind of.
Okay. The one thing that I do like is in this exchange is it's really clear that at least Trudeau is listening to the argument being made. One of the things that I really like is when the reporter, I don't know if the reporter meant it this way, but it's like, one of the things I have to give up as a member of a free society is the possibility that someone like you might get kidnapped. And you can kind of see Trudeau's face sort of be basically the way that it is right now. And then he gets this smile when he sort of realizes what's been said. I'm sort of sorry that I can't bring it up right now. But the consequence of this was that within 2 days of that interview, so I think this is about 9 days after the initial kidnapping, the War Measures Act was actually introduced. And in fact, this still sort of remains a controversial decision in terms of Canada, in terms of where you go. I mean, again, the "just watch me" statement is quite literally true in this case. It's about as far as you can go in terms of bringing in very, very heavy machinery to deal with a problem in terms of Canada. And I mean, again, like I said, this is the sort of thing that it is like time has gone by, but maybe not that much time, right? 50 years is not that long ago. And again, this is the sort of thing that you would normally associate with developing countries or ones where you're sort of used to hearing about conflict. So the War Measures Act has ultimately been replaced. It's now the Emergencies Act. And in fact, this is the act that was used for the very first time during the vaccination protests, also known as the trucker convoy in Ottawa. And there was actually, we just recently had an inquiry over the use of it. This is something that's built into the legislation. If it's ever used, there has to be an inquiry as to whether or not it was appropriate to use. And one of the reasons why I think this is interesting to bring up is, again, just the way that Terra Invicta models some of these ideas that are present, whether it's international relations or political science or economics. In this case here, this is something that is actually a very active conversation in terms of Canada. And I mean, again, it's not to say that this is exclusive to Canada. There are obviously similar conversations that get made in terms of, let's say, the US response to something like 9/11. But I wanted to at least give a bit of Canadiana because this is what I know and what I'm familiar with. I'll just take a second here. If you wish to make an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe. Carl Sagan. So when it comes down to this unity, let's think again about how the game models this. Government increases by 0.005 per 2 investment points in the knowledge priority, but it changes by negative 0.001 per 2 investment points in unity. And again, the unity priority represents a national effort to unify the people against a common foe at the cost of some civil protections for dissenters. Investing in the unity priority will increase cohesion by 0.542 and decrease the government score by decrease it by 0.001. It will also shift public opinion towards factions with control points in the nation. This priority is less effective in nations with higher education levels. And of course, knowledge. The knowledge priority covers investments in education and the free flow of information. Completing the knowledge priority increases education by 0.005, government by 0.005, and pulls cohesion towards the middle value of 5 by 0.01. And so, this is a live debate. In terms of Canada, this is a live debate. To say, in the case of the Emergencies Act, this is something that allowed bank accounts to be frozen. And one of the reasons for this is that one of the demands was effectively that Parliament cease to be sort of the central legislature, that essentially I believe the demand was that the country be run by the Governor General and sort of a committee of these protesters. Now, this is very different from cabinet ministers and ambassadors being kidnapped and the demands of prisoners being released. But ultimately, there is a question that you want to ask, right? Which is, at what point do you bring in these kinds of measures, which do represent a curtailment of civil liberties? The idea that sort of this financial weapon can be wielded is something that people should take very seriously. But on the other hand, it is very much a case where, at least in terms of the stated goals of a significant enough faction to sort of bring the issue forward, is to effectively call for a replacement of the government. And these sorts of things seem like jokes until they're not, and you wind up with a January 6th, for instance. And so I kind of like the fact that this debate is present inside of it, right? You don't necessarily go for the unity option, because that will come at the cost of government. And obviously in strategy games, sometimes it's, you're totally cool with the idea of, restricting a government. Like in games, arguably, dictatorships are much more interesting because you're able to just get stuff done and you don't need to worry about what the people say. But there are costs for this. In the case of, something like the states, the ability to sort of transmit information, that's going to have an effect in terms of the ability to conduct science. And so one of the things that I think is kind of interesting in terms of Terra Invicta is the idea that you can, in some cases, you can maybe have this ambition to somehow transform the economies that you're working with, or the countries and the economies that you're working with. That perhaps, you will lower GDP in the United States, but you'll introduce more equality. Or perhaps, you're willing to let democratic values slide and sort of, turn into a Hungary and then maybe become something even more authoritarian. Maybe you'll turn the United States into North Korea. But another way, and I think one of the more effective ways to play the game, is to think of it as working within the system that you have. So, for instance, in the case of China, number one, it's very difficult to gain control of China. And there's a lot of potential in the country. So if we compare the research values, right? 387.5 versus 396.7. In the case of China, it's actually overtaken the US in terms of its research capability, possibly due to the fragmentation, right? But on the other hand, the more interesting question is not necessarily whether or not you're going to do some sort of social engineering in the world, but what happens when you're dealing with a situation like the fragmentation. That the United States has become so fragmented that it hit a zero, and this resulted in effectively in about as close as we could get to civil war without the thing actually breaking apart. And we've had to dedicate a lot of resources to try and get that back under control. Now, unrest is going to keep going up as long as we have this fragmentation. And so we kind of come back to the question that real-world governments have to deal with. At what point are you willing to bring in measures that would be considered intolerable under the normal functionings of a democracy in order to preserve the democracy? And obviously, in the case of the states as modeled inside of the game, it's in a very fragile state. it doesn't necessarily take that much to push it one way or the other. And again, I think that's really interesting because, again, I can't necessarily explain where the cohesion went, but it's a it's a really interesting challenge that I needed to deal with, and we'll see whether or not I handled it the right way. Now, I am going to need to wrap up reasonably soon. I'll just do one more pass because I think, it's 20 for Andre, and I think 20, so we don't have any more points to put in. I do want to make sure that I've written down the right values. I didn't. Okay, so we're going to study this next time. How you doing, Algrins? So we have 4168 for the resistance and 3678 for the servants. So this translates to Sorry, I'm being kind of stupid right now. I'm trying to write out the numbers, but I think probably I should just try and find a calculator. So what was it? 4168 minus, where were we? 3940. So we contributed 228 this time. And then we can contrast that with the servants' contribution. So they had 3678 minus 3590. That's 88. So again, we're over investing. And that was over a course of 15 days. So this means that as long as I'm contributing about 6 per day, we're going to keep ahead of the servants. Terrestrial military science is... It's probably better that I invest in Ad Astra, actually. This is a bit of a weird division, but I'm gonna do my best with this, and we'll see how it runs.
Offering assistance.
All right, I am lending my expertise to the United States of America. Until I'm assigned a new mission, I will be increasing the nation's research output by 19%, the effective GDP used to calculate investment points by 22%, and the performance of its armies and defense forces by 0.10 Militech value. So this is a permanent assignment. Okay, graphene batteries we will add to the list of things we want to do. Yeah, now we're cooking.
The people will come to our side.
We've moved the needle.
Okay, we'll make that
Violence is abating.
Make that a permanent assignment to Mexico.
Here's what we found.
I've learned some useful information from my investigation of the alien activity in India. We will receive a small bonus to our xenology research going forward. Also, I think I screwed up. Nope, we're still working on the freighters. So we should probably be informed about Mars. Okay, we need to spike Guatemala again. Nope, April. Okay.
Ready to go.
So Gennardi's in a good position to take out the take out the competition.
Targeting the opposition.
Okay, so the States is still in decent shape. How is the opinion going? Okay, we're over 54% in El Salvador, so that means Chashu is going to take care of another region.
We must persuade the people.
Okay, let's also take a look. So Pacific states, I think we can continue the crackdown. Let's wait on Nicaragua. Oh, well, I'm going to have to pick one. Okay. So I think the way I'm going to handle this... So I need like 20 points. Okay, so let's say Caribbean states are the first off the list. So I need 9 more points. I'll try El Salvador and Honduras as much as it pains me. Nah, I gotta do one more. I don't know, I feel like we're close to a point where we should be able to get one of these added in. But, and then, I'm sorry to keep doing this, but I do want to make sure that I'm getting these numbers right. So, for resistance, we've got 4274. For servants, we've got 3744. I should also be messing around with that for, I should be taking a look at what that looks like compared to, compared to the Humanity First numbers as well. Okay, so we've got 3744 for the servants. Oh, they've completely abandoned this. Yeah, sorry, we don't worry about Humanity First, but I should be looking at what... We're probably going to overtake them pretty quickly. I may want to consider investing even more into the freighters. Oh, what am I saying? No, I got this wrong. It was 3678 last time. Still, that translates into 66, so... Number doesn't quite work here. Okay, that's slightly better than before.
Offering support.
Yikes! Coup in El Salvador. Oh, I was not paying attention to the alien life forms. we got a couple of assault missions that are going to happen. So I guess we'll do 2 more turns. There's too many alien bases. God, there's now 3 that we need to attack.
We're winning their hearts and minds.
Okay. Belize is...
Public opinion is moving in our direction.
Order is returning.
Our people have taken control.
Okay, so I definitely want to, as far as all of the people who have good command, we're going to want to use them on the alien life forms. Everybody else, it looks like we're in a position to sort of reevaluate what I'm using them for. Oh, I just cleared out the stuff that I wanted. Okay, well, that's a shame, but... So Choshu's, this is a pretty easy one. We will
we'll bring this nation to our side.
Where do you need me?
Now, let's go assault an alien asset. So we've got Russia, Khartoum, or Sudan, so I'll go after the one in Kharkiv. This is partly just because Toby is going to be more effective at...
Gear up.
So this does mean that the United States is going to be sort of left on its own for
Standing
a bit.
by.
But again, I don't have the command for anyone else. So we'll lock that in, but I want to just double check that I'm tracking the correct numbers. So we've got 38, 34 for the servants. We've got 4403 for me. So that actually translated into 129, but I don't think I can bank on that because Toby's elsewhere. What I'm mostly interested in is what the servants are investing. So they went up to 90. That's a number I should be paying attention to. That translates to about 6.42 a day. So there is a small danger that they actually overtake us. Now what about Ad Astra? So we're at 428 compared to their 751. I'm gonna leave the status quo for research for now, but I'm probably gonna have to put some points back into industrialization of space before too long. So that is March 16th. One more thing. Okay, we've got the FBI, the GSG, Hezbollah. Rigel spacecraft would be interesting because of the mission control it gets me. Nobody with administration, so not as much to worry about there. And yeah, everybody else is... Okay, yeah, so we can confirm. Let's see how it all turns out. The way I'm imagining Toby is basically an equivalent of kind of like an equivalent of kind of a John von Neumann figure now, and I am fascinated by this idea of von Neumann also taking time out of his busy research agenda to lead an army. Yes, we have full control of actually all of North and Central America. So, Iran's missile tests went off without a hitch, gaining it a wealth of technical data. A response from the United States of America can be expected shortly. Event unlocked. Punitive sanction triggers the following effects. Iran gains 0.1 to its military tech level. Iran will invest more into space launch and space flight. So, oddly enough, Iran is something of a worthwhile target now because it's weakened, but again, I just don't have the control points.
The people will come to our side.
Things are cooling off.
I'm interested to see what they're up to here.
Score 1 for the good guys.
Okay, 46% from Kharkiv.
Target secure.
Ooh. It's not the sort of thing you want to dump a bunch of ops into and see the result for. I mean, we won, so that's...
Our presence is growing.
Nice, but... So again, we're abandoning it to make sure that we're within the cap. Although, apparently I didn't. It is a little weird that these events talking about, ooh, Iran is testing a new missile. It's like, yeah, we know they have the bomb. Like, it's not a surprise anymore. Anyways,
standing by.
Toby is now going to advise the states.
I will help.
Canardi is going to take out the last of the alien life forms. Again, we're going to need to spend up to make sure we do that right.
Taking it to them.
And
Your
Chaoshu,
orders?
I think we're going to focus on improving our people's opinion of us. So, on to Honduras. Yeah, their command's nowhere where it needs to be.
I will try to sway the public.
Also, we've got to be getting to a point where we can augment. Yeah. Sure is tempting. I think I'm going for it. Although we are running out of money. Okay, let's take a quick look at our rivals. So under resources, pretty much everybody's at their command point limit. Do you know the 3 alien base locations? I'm pretty sure we have more than 3 alien bases. Okay. So let's just take a look at what we're generating. So in terms of money, Humanity First, the Initiative, Servants, actually everybody's making more money than we are, but that's also partly by choice on our part, right? We've specifically cut back on funding in order to achieve certain goals. Influence, we are top dog, although the Academy is close. Now, Humanity First is outdoing us for boost. We're equal to the Initiative. The Servants are beating us at boost. That's a disaster. As is the Academy. So we definitely want to be doubling down on our space flight. Mission control-wise, we seem to be able to control the most. Now, research, we're just clobbering everyone. It's not even close. So that's good. Now, I don't know how many techs we have. Looks like they're all at 2. Or special projects. And then in terms of the number of command points, servants are the one we need to worry about, but we can basically control more than the world. So it does sort of invite the question in terms of why our boost is so poor, given this... given what we control, but we'll worry about that later. Also, under relations, let's just make sure nothing too scary's changed. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we could probably be reaching out the olive branch. Do I not get the option of just saying Earth itself? Okay. Tricky. The other thing, again, apologies. April 1st. This will be a bit of an education in terms of whether or not I can maintain this research agenda. Okay, so they went up by 84. I went up by 111. So as far as I'm concerned, this is fine. Like, I might want to tinker at the margins a little bit, but I think for the most part, this is about where I want to be. They're researching at about 5.5 research. Again, I'm kind of roughing some of this out, but at 5.5 research a day, I don't think there's a whole lot that I can do to adjust these timings. So at least when we complete industrialization of space, we're going to be able to pick at least one tech for ourselves. I'm making an effort to try and outdo the Protectorate on Ad Astra, but we may not achieve it. I definitely prefer, like, compared to terrestrial military science and Ad Astra, like, I'd prefer humanity first setting the rest of the research agenda than the Protectorate. But we'll see where all that goes. All right, we'll go into mid-April. And then I think we'll call it for tonight, because I'm about an hour over where I wanted to be now, and I still have writing to do. This one's about TikTok. Did any of you sign up to be Twitter CEO? Okay, the United States of America is deeply concerned at Iran's recent provocative actions. Policymakers in the United States of America have suggested levying economic sanctions against Iran in order to impose costs for the latest provocations. Imposing the sanctions, -1 GDP, and gain in... Yeah, no, I mean, this is owned by the servants, so...
We're winning their hearts and minds.
The situation remains chaotic.
The people will come to our side.
targets secured.
Again, 20% is not the sort of thing I want to see, but it's better than nothing. So the next task might be to start realigning some of my investment priorities to make sure that we're boosting our space programs. But a probe controlled by the Resistance has arrived on Mars and completed its scans. We may now construct bases there with the appropriate colonization technology. Monthly resource production for each site is listed below. Arcadia Planeta. You know what? I won't read all of this out. All of them. Actually, let's just go take me there. So I am going to take some notes here about the best location. So clearly, because I'm skipping the moon, I kind of want a little bit of everything. Water and fissiles are by far the most important to me, but I get those from everyone. So I think next we're going to focus on... or sorry, that's not fissiles. This is volatiles. So fissiles, the richest would be Terra Sirenum. Now, it is one of the weaker volatile mines, and it doesn't have much as far as noble metals are concerned, so maybe we want to start thinking about some second bests. So this doesn't have any noble metals, that's out. Olympus Mons is interesting. The only thing about it is it doesn't have that much water. It's actually the lowest amount of water out of anything. So, my rankings... Planum. At least that one is 1. Okay, so I think Olympus Mons is priority number 1. I actually think it's the order that I just said, because everything else is a fraction of the value of something that I want. The catch is that the water is going to be a worry. Now, I do have enough to actually build the outpost. The question is, do I maybe want to wait? So in June, we will finish the nuclear freighters, and so we would be able to... spend less boost. So I think in this case I'm going to risk it. I need to be careful because obviously I got scooped on the moon. But I do like the idea of making the most of my boost. Okay.
I'm here.
Yet another alien asset to blow up. I gotta be careful about my
Gear up.
Public opinion has dropped suddenly. That's interesting. Not that much though, so. Okay, I think we lock in the turn, and we call it a day. If it was a Central American one, I might be willing to impose those costs, but at this point, I think I want to keep in my cap. And actually, sorry, I should also double check my counselors. I think I'm just going to leave this open for now. Oh, Taurus Investments. Why can't I buy you? Because I don't have enough money. Interesting. Okay, this is the cost for being nice. It's probably what I'm going to take, though. But it does mean I'm probably going to have to crank up the funding in future. So, on that note, I don't know whether or not we've properly righted the ship, but we are on our way. So we are going to be, in terms of some next steps, here's the steps that we're basically gonna be taking. So this is the 19th today. I'm investing in reducing the boost cost. We are now able to put a hab on Mars. Oh, it does say the Earth launch window now. Okay, you know what? If the launch window's now, Resistance has begun construction of a new outpost, Havelock Base at Olympus Mons on Mars. We completed the Found a Base objective to build a mining complex, support the development of advanced magnetics, mass drivers, and space mining and refining public technologies. Next objective, build a mine at one of your bases. Accumulate sufficient resources to build a mine, then select one of your bases in the HAB screen and start construction of a mine.
Offering counsel.
Okay. So yes, we need Outpost Mining Complex, which I don't know if that is part of our... It is, and it shouldn't take that long to research. But did I get the... Yes, I also seem to have a source of... I also seem to be able to power it. With infinite complacency, men went to and fro over this globe about their little affairs, serene in their assurance of their empire over matter. Okay, but yeah. So the main... I need to get out of the game so I don't keep looking at new things. But basically, we're going to finally set up our space industry. We've got a much better grip of the world than I had before, and it wouldn't hurt for me to try and nudge towards unifying parts of the Western Hemisphere. But that is definitely a secondary consideration. I do want to be I want to be able to build and maintain meaningful platforms. It would be nice if we can intercept, alien ships before they land on Earth. It's worth remembering, right, that I haven't actually done the space combat yet, so that's going to be an education as well. But clearly, I needed to just try and get the world into a better shape before I could move on to that. Now, I do want to try and find someone to host tonight, so if you can just give me a second while I set up. There's definitely several phases. So if you see Terra Invicta as a paint the map kind of a game, I feel like how do I put it? You're the only one who follow. Okay, that's interesting. I mean, I'm like the bottom of the list of people playing right now, so I clearly did not connect today, but that's fine. But yeah, no. If you just see it as a paint the map red kind of a game, you're really missing it. The purpose of sort of controlling the world is to be able to, to be able to equip yourselves to take on the alien invasion. Anyways, I am going to raid Buddhist Priest Plays. So they've tagged themselves as. First of all, I finished my final semester done, so congratulations to them. but they're tagged as first playthrough, so this might be interesting as well, as I kind of feel like I need to do for the last few raids. I don't know this individual. Hopefully they are fun to watch, but I can't speak to that because it'll be my first experience seeing them as well. It's also preposterously late for me, so I have to catch up on all the other stuff that I wanted to do. On Wednesday, I'm going to be back with Industries of Titan. And on Friday, I think we're going to be back to Against the Storm. I'm probably not going to do Cyberpunk again. But at least, it'll be a special thing. I don't think I'm going to give it a dedicated day. But anyways, please enjoy Buddhist Priest Plays. I will see you all in a couple of days. Have a good night.